How's it going, folks? Welcome to another fun at-home table read. Tonight, we are jumping into my second favorite horror franchise, I think. We did the first last year with the Saw movies, but this is just a fun series. We're going to tackle the Final Destination, the very first one, the year 2000. Let's just start introducing ourselves. I'm going to be covering action description on this one. I'm Logan.
I'm Randi. I'm going to be reading for Alex.
Hi, I'm Anne. I will be reading for Clear.
I'm Nicole. I'm going to be reading for Carter.
I'm Angie. I'm reading Ms. Lewton.
I'm George. I'm going to be playing for Billy.
Hi, I'm think I'm in the right order. Mary. I'll be reading for Todd.
That is correct. All right, well, here we go. Final Destination, originally called Flight 180 by James Wong and Glenn Morgan. Awaiting each of us, a cold, dark, lonely place. Deny its finality, deride its totality, dread the inescapable inevitability of it. It will arrive. The black screen senses this moment before a distant blue harp introduces a contemporary band's cover of blues of blood, sweat, and tears, campy yet haunting gospel, and When I Die. And as the introduction closes, resonates a flash of lightning, a crack of thunder. Cut to interior Alex's bedroom, night, close, bed. An airline ticket is close into frame beside a suitcase. Euro Air Flight 180, New York, JFK to Paris, Charles Laguia, CDG. Departure Thursday the 13th of May, 16H25. Arrival Friday, 14 May, 5H40. And When I Die continues throughout the main titles. An old table fan swivels beside an open window. Outside, a human sprig thunderstorm drops warm, ominous rain. The figure of a 17-year-old boy, Alex Browning, packing up for a trip, passing the fan. The bed, a Paris guidebook, is tossed atop a plane ticket. The camera pushes down on the book as the fan's breeze flips through the pages. The table fan turns, the head swiveling away from the bed. Tighter on the guidebook pages as they stop flipping, revealing a guillotine from the Reign of Terror. As an American passport is dropped beside the guidebook, the table fan swivels, returning towards the guidebook on the bed. The guidebook pages flip, flip, flip. Alex's faint shadow continues moving around the room. The fan head swivels away, allowing the pages to settle upon a Louvre masterpiece, Francisco de Zorda's Lying in the State of Saint Bonaventura. Camera creeps in teasingly on the dark-faced corpse. The pages begin to turn once again. Tighter, ominous angle on the desk fan. There is more of a hint of coincidence as the blades whir and the head swivels. The boy's figure passes, blocking the breeze. The guidebook pages stop dead on Jim Morrison's decorated tomb at the Cimetière de Dame les Champs. A pilgrim has spray painted "This is the end," which in fact it is, of the main title.
Alex.
Camera adjusts to fully reveal Alex Browning as he turns towards the bedroom door. Alex is an average kid, handsome, a high school everyman. On one wall amongst the Yankees and Knicks posters hangs a pennant. Mount Abram High School, New York, the Fighting Colonists. Alex's mother, Barbara, 45, walks in, excited and a bit anxious.
Todd and George's dad just called. He's picking you up at 10 in the morning. Bus leaves the high school for JFK at noon.
Barbara moves towards the suitcase to help him pack. Alex's father, Ken Browning, 48, appears, leaning on the door threshold, smiling enviously at his son. "A suitcase working out for you?" Alex nods and buckles it. Barbara reaches in to tear off an airline baggage ID ticket attached from the previous flight.
Whoa, Mom, you got to leave that on. It's like the tag made it in the last flight without crashing or anything, right? So it should stay on, or with the bag for good luck.
Where would you get a nutball idea like that?
Extremely close angle on the airline baggage marker as it's torn away from the suitcase handle. Return. As Barbara picks up the suitcase to place it on the floor, a dozen old baggage ID tickets spill from the outer compartment. She looks at Ken as if, "You?" The guilty party shrugs. "I'm still here." Barbara shakes her head as Alex smiles at his dad. 17 and on the loose. 10 days in Paris. In the springtime. Live it up, Alex. Camera inches into Ken as he winks at his son. "You got your whole life ahead of you." Alex, as the camera creeps in, oddly as the words strike him portentously. Cut to interior Alex's bedroom later. The storm has ceased. The room is quiet. As if itself a presence, the camera creeps across the dark and motionless room towards Alex, sleeping soundly. Camera cranes down to the level of the bed until Alex is in the foreground and the room is visible behind him. On the rear wall, the Fighting Colonials pennant begins to flutter slightly as if affected by a moving breeze, the path of which is continued towards the bed, rustling the sheets, subtly blowing Alex's hair and continuing over camera. Even in his sleep, Alex shivers from the passing cold. His eyes open, surprised to be suddenly awake. He considers for a beat, then looks towards the windows, which are closed. Alex, puzzled, checks the table fan, which is off. Alex, perplexed, rolls over towards his digital clock. It's 1 a.m., however, and the middle digit bar in the first 0 suddenly flickers, so his time appears to read 180. Attention, airline travelers. Cut to interior John F. Kennedy Airport morning television monitor. Flight 180 departs at 4:25, gate 39. This airport does not support solicitors. Camera adjusts from the arrival departure schedule to reveal 40 high school kids, 4 teachers, and several parents are gathered inside the international terminal at JFK. Several of the students wear Fighting Colonials Letterman jackets or hats or shirts displaying Mount Abrams High, New York. You are not required to give money to solicitors. Alex gathers his bags, as does his best friend, Todd Waggner, and his older brother, George Waggner, sitting before their father, Jerry Waggner. For Alex, any psychic tension from the night before seems forgotten in the fun and excitement of the trip.
All right. You guys got everything?
Yeah, we're all set, Dad.
Dr. Murnau, the French teacher, any further description necessary? And leader of the class trip waves his arms.
Estudiants alone in France.
Does that mean go?
Todd shrugs, I guess, as he moves to his father and gives him a warm hug goodbye. Mr. Waggner then gives his older son a hug. Atención, señor Pasiones. No necesario contribuir.
I miss you guys.
Todd and George give a wave, as does Alex, who is slapped on the back by Mr. Waggner.
Take care of those two, Alex.
I will, don't worry.
The group begins down the airport towards the check-in counter. In the foreground before the boys strides a girl, Clear Rivers, 17, reading the Tropic of Cancer. The loner of the group, Clear wears dark colors against the insecurity of her sex appeal. She appears aloof and more worldly than the other students. Readying his ticket and documents, Todd flips open his passport, checking out his photo.
I didn't think anything could be worse than my yearbook picture.
Now I know how I feel having to look at you all the time.
Ave au passenger. Mr. Murnau stops the group. Excited, he cups an ear with one hand while raising a finger towards the public address system.
Entendez, classe? Qu'est-ce que c'est l'annonce?
Everyone begrudgingly stops to listen. Vous n'avez pas obligation et contraption de la cap. I don't speak French. Carter Horton is the class dickhead who mixes and matches his role models in the most superficial manner. His hand is tucked into his girlfriend, Terry Cheney's waistband.
What does he want?
Terry, hot now but with no idea what time will do to her in just 5 years, smiles obsequiously and mouths, shh. I'm not even going to repeat the French again because I still don't speak it. Mr. Murnau scans the group, his expression looking for an answer. Clear Rivers keeps her head in her book as...
The airport doesn't endorse solicitors.
Très bien, Claire. Tout droit.
She doesn't react. Her expression remains cool as Murnau leads the processional forward. The boys continue. Alex sighs.
Fuck, do we have to put up with that shit the whole time?
A hand reaches out to gently detain Alex. He looks up to find a Hare Krishna, dressed in everyday clothes, but head shaved and a mark on his nose.
Death is not the end.
The camera pushes in on Alex, unsettled by the soft-spoken yet ominous solicitation. The Krishna offers a small book, Reality Beyond Matter, Vaishnava Philosophy. As he hands the book to Alex, a female form enters frame between them. The woman is Miss Valerie Lewton, 30, a feisty English teacher whose figure inspires all the boys' fantasies.
It will be for you if you harass my students.
She places a hand on Alex's shoulder, herding him into the group.
Hari Rama.
Miss Lewton turns and, while walking backwards, flashes a smile. As she turns her back and continues down the terminal, cut to interior check-in desk, airport day. Alex's passport and ticket are set into frame and are picked up by a female ticket clerk. Alex waits as she busily types into the computer and checks his passport.
I have a few questions to ask you this afternoon.
Off screen, loud, exaggerated plastic tiles rapidly click and clack.
Did you pack these bags yourselves?
The clacking continues, demanding Alex's attention. His eyes turn forward. Alex's POV, the flight information board. Plastic tabs clack rapidly, settling on the word canceled. Alex, camera creeps down on his dawning paranoia.
Have your belongings remained in your possession the entire time?
Alex absently nods. Again, off screen, clack, clack, clack. His eyes move too, Alex's POV, tighter on the flight information board. The plastic tab flips and clack rapidly, stopping on departed. Ticket desk, Alex is still considering the messages.
Have you received any packages from persons unknown to you?
Alex quickly runs the day through his head and flashes her the Reality Beyond Matter book. She smiles, then leans towards the baggage scales. Alex's eyes turn towards, close, motion slowed on Alex's luggage. A new airline ID marker is attached to his bag. Return. Alex eyes the new tag, hoping it's good luck. As the clerk returns his ticket to his passport, clack, clack, clack.
Same as your birthday.
Alex is puzzled by the comment. He shakes his head as if, pardon me? The camera enters into the ticket clerk, gesturing pleasantly to the passport and ticket.
April 25th, 4:25. Your birthday is the same as your departure time.
Clack, clack, clack. Alex's eyes flash forward. Alex's POV full frame on the informational board. The tile settles upon terminal. Cut to interior security area, airport monitor. A ghastly green and reds of an X-ray monitor flash as we carry the bags through the machine. Camera moves counter to the direction of the conveyor belt. The pace and excitement of the collective group escalates as departure approaches. Carter Horton and his girlfriend Terry take cuts in line with smug, bullying expressions. Seen by the chaperones, no students has the nerve to protest Carter's actions. Alex, Todd, George, and Billy Hitchcock, heavyset with a New York Rangers jersey, carries Carter and Terry with disgust.
I can't believe they let that dickhead on this trip. His parents bought a ton of those trip certificates we had to sell just to get him out of their hair for 10 days.
Excited, Todd speaks in a covert tone over Alex's shoulder.
Dude, I worked the ticket clerk, so you're sitting next to Christina, and I'm next to Blake.
Alex looks up ahead at the metal detectors. Alex's POV on the two girls, attractive and they know it, Christa Marsh and Blake Dreyer, appear clearly out of Alex and Todd's league.
That's 7 hours, and most of it's in the dark.
Alex and Todd, the boys dump their change into the plastic bowl.
Dude, if we don't get someone going on this flight, we should just call Dr. Kervokin and put ourselves out of our freaking misery.
As Alex and Todd pass through the metal detector, their eyes performing reconnaissance on Christa and Blake, the opening drums blast of Boingo's No One Lives Forever overlaps as we cut to interior airline gate airport afternoon, close on gate 39. The camera adjusts from the sign indicating gate 39. The class is squirrely and excited. Mr. Murnau, Miss Lewton, and the parent chaperones are allowing kids to burn off steam at the gate, hoping for a calm flight. The camera moves along the awaiting passengers. Carter and Terry are making out, a step away from heavy petting. Blake and Christa are flipping through Parisian fashion magazines. Billy Hitchcock lays into a burrito supreme. Camera moves to an empty seat. Clear Rivers enters frame and sits, struggling with her Walkman, coffee, books, and a cassette box marked Boingo, a cheat that we hear the music. As she places the stuff on an unoccupied seat beside her, a Paris guidebook falls to the floor, open but face down. A passing unidentified student reaches down and hands her the book, still open and face down.
Thanks.
The student continues towards the observation deck. Clear looks at the open guidebook. Clear's POV on the guidebook, Princess Di's Mercedes is totaled in a Paris tunnel. Beside the photo are two portraits of Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed. Clear, the camera inches in as she shakes off a shiver down her spine. She looks up from the book towards a student who handed it to her, the identity of which is now fully revealed to be Alex Browning. He stands at the gate window looking out at the plane. Alex's POV of the 747. It's raining. In the distance, muffled through the thunderstorms, the camera creeps away from the plane, huge, seemingly inescapable of flight, and yet we unquestionably trust our lives to this machine, emotionless, cold, lifeless, and yet so full of life. Alex, the camera inches in on him.
Dude, let's take a dump.
Todd moves into frame beside Alex.
And that is one George Michael notch from being gay.
Dude, get some wisdom. We're about to board a 7-hour flight. The toilets and coach are barely ventilated closets. What if your body wants that airplane food out of your system, and you have to go to the Torque Wicked cabin, and right after you walks in Christina or Blake. You want them to associate with you that reflex gag and the watery sting in their eyes?
Alex takes a beat to consider. Cut to interior men's room airport overhead. The camera looks down on 2 stalls. Alex sits in one, Todd sits in the other. Off screen, over the airport PA system, John Denver's Rocky Mountain High begins.
John Denver.
Upon the mention, the camera cranes down, turning, twisting until finding Alex in a straight-on close-up. He listens, tense.
He was born in the summer of his 27th year.
He died in a plane crash.
A PA announcement breaks into the song. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. At this time, we would like to begin pre-boarding for Euro Air Flight 180 to Paris through Gate 39. Really, for the first time, Alex appears a bit tentative and pale. It is intensified by the return of the song.
It's the Colorado Rocky Mountain High. I've seen it rain and fire in the sky.
Cut to interior boarding area. Gate 39 close on Alex's boarding pass. It's torn along the perforated edge and handed back. Alex looks down the passenger ramp. Alex's POV on the ramp tunnel. The camera creeps towards it, lit to cheat a feeling of no return. Off screen, distant thunder rumbles. Wider, there is something more emotionally tense about the moment of boarding than takeoff. Camera picks up Mrs. Lewton searching.
Anyone seen Billy Hitchcock? We lose him.
Todd nudges Alex towards the tunnel, the 3 boys starting down the ramp, passing Mr. Murnau, who checks his list, counting heads.
28, 9.
Passenger ramp. Alex, Todd, and George catch up to Christina and Blake, excited. As always, everyone becomes bottlenecked just at the point of entering the plane. Alex looks at the ramp side porthole towards the back of the plane. Alex's POV through the porthole, the enormous engine, the expansive wings. Behind the tail, distant, a bolt of lightning flashes. Alex looks away. Just ahead, in the plane, flight attendants greet the passengers. He is next to enter the plane. Close on the floor. A slice of opening from where the ramp meets the plane provides a sense of how high up one really stands. On Alex, the camera pushes into him as he takes his first steps into the plane. On the airline cabin floor, Alex's Nikes land on the carpet. Interior of the 747 first class cabin. Screams! Its parents desperate to comfort their child. Camera adjusts, leading George, Alex, and Todd through the aisles. Alex and Todd wince at the screaming child. George, however, feels comforted.
Good sign. The younger the better. It would be a fucked up god to take down this plane.
Interior economy class cabin, 747 afternoon. In the first row slumps a young man with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. A cannula is set in his nostrils, leading to an oxygen tank beside him. The kids sneak sympathetic yet anxious glances at the man while continuing to their seats. George whispers over his shoulder.
Oh, really fucked up god.
Alex's tension increases as he continues up the aisle. Alex's POV on the overhead compartments. The camera inches in on row 25, seats H, I, and J. Alex climbs into the row carrying his backpack. He takes the window seat and reaches up for the airflow valve. Close in the valve, it turns, hissing, air steaming full blast. Camera inches in on him as he takes some deep breaths of the stale air. He presses his face to the window. Alex's POV of the left wing. Rain falls. Gears whir as the airlines are tested. Close on, Alex. The camera creeps towards him, face to the glass, eyes scanning the plane and outside area.
Alex?
He turns towards the aisle. Alex's POV on Christa and Blake. Man, they look great, and they're working that sex appeal.
Could you trade seats with Blake so she and I can sit together? I asked Todd, but he said he's got some medical thing.
Alex thinks a quick check to Todd. Alex's POV on Todd. He shakes his head. No, don't do it. Alex and the girls. He looks to them and he knows he is just plain overmatched. Alex shrugs. Sure. In front of him, Todd just throws his arms up, disgusted. Alex climbs out of his seat. The girls are touchy-feely thankful, but only know guys dig that.
You're so sweet. Thanks, Alex.
Alex crams up into the aisle, making his way to Todd, sitting 2 rows up in 22H. Alex climbs over Todd to take the window seat. Clear River sits in the seat directly behind Alex.
Come on, man. Like you really thought you were going to titty fuck him over Greenland or something?
Because of you, I gotta sit here and watch fucking Stepmom.
As Alex sits, the tray table falls from its upright position. He lifts the tray back up, and as he turns the latch, it breaks off in his hand. He briefly tries to jimmy the tray into position, then gives up. Camera follows Alex's hand as he rises. Camera sweeps in extremely close to the attendant call button. As Alex's finger engages the button, it lights up orange. On Alex as the jet lurches. He looks out of the window. As Alex's POV, the 747 begins to roll out of the gate. On Alex as he looks back, searching for the nearest flight attendant. Alex's POV through the seats, Clear Rivers, reading her book. Another leans to look out the window. Alex lifts up a bit of his seat, searching for any flight attendant. Off screen, a ping.
Flight attendants, prepare for departure.
Looking for in the cabin, Alex's POV near the flight deck. The flight attendants strap themselves in for takeoff. On Alex's off-screen, the engine volume increases in pitch and intensity as the jet begins to taxi. Alex sits back with his tray over his lap. He looks out the window. Alex's POV of the right wing. It appears motionless in the foreground as the tarmac runway signs roll past the window. The engine pitch rises. Alex, as the engine whir and the jet gathers speed, checks the window. Alex's POV on the runway. It's a blur. The airport terminals in the background streak past. The wings lift, angled as the jet leaves the ground. Alex, off screen, his classmates cheer and raise the roof. The trip has begun. Camera pulls away from Alex as if reflecting his easing of annoyance with the tray situation. He finally appears to notice the raucous reaction and settles back into his seat, slightly pushed by the mild G-force. The upward angle increasing. The cabin buffets as if passing mild turbulence. Then the cabin sharply jolts. Everyone tenses, gasps. The camera sweeps back to Alex, and just as he clenches his backpack, the cabin bangs and rocks. The engines spool to a stall. Metal twist under extreme pressure. The cabin dips, angles sharply to the right. Alex's POV on the cabin, passengers scream. Unrestrained personal belongings fly across the aircraft into camera, which buffets and shakes. Oxygen masks deploy from the overhead compartments. A pre-recorded message, like that recorded by the black box in the crash of JAL 123, August 12, 1985, flares over the PA with eerie calm.
Fasten seatbelts, put on oxygen masks.
Alex, his hand trembles as he reaches for the oxygen mask and places it over his face. The engines resuscitate, screaming, whining. Alex checks out his window. Alex's POV of the window, the plane is on its side, losing altitude, a slow, sick spin. Alex breathes deep into his oxygen cup. The jet engines grind and whir as if the craft were in the midst of a last-ditch effort to regain stability. The sounds deafening over the passengers' cruelly hopeless screams. Then, kaboom! A devastating explosion erupts across the cabin, blasting a 5-foot hole in the fuselage. Human limbs and blood spray, craft and passengers torn to shreds. Dead students sit lifeless in their seats. Every unrestrained object on board flies to the hole and through the fire, paper, books, luggage, pillows. A parent and student clutch their seat in terror, screaming before they're pulled into the sky. Wind screams, dying engines, a deafening blare. Alex and Todd scream, pale, knowing there is no hope, no escape as the engines die. The cabin begins to tilt downwards, then straight down. Debris tumbles towards the flight deck as if falling from a cliff. Outside, the sick, familiar sound of an aircraft going down. Alex is strapped to his seat, upper body facing downwards in the water. Fire, wind, blood whip across him. A building whine crescendos before a second explosion rips across frame. Cut to a close on Alex's terrified eyes, dilating rapidly as the shock of what appears to be happening before him washes over his very psyche.
Alex?
Alex, drenched with sweat, trembling in his seat, his eyes dart towards Christa and Blake. They look great, and they are working that sex appeal.
Could you trade seats with Blake, and so she and I can sit together? I asked how, but he's got some medical thing.
Alex turns sickeningly disoriented. His eyes dart about, searching for his evidence of a catastrophe. There are none to be found. Alex blots from his seat, startling the two girls. He scrambles towards Todd, who looks at his friend, concerned.
Dude, what's up?
Frenzied, Alex climbs over his friend on top of the seat. Alex's panic has alerted the other students as a male flight attendant makes his way to the row. Alex grabs the tray table latch before the vacant seat. It breaks off just before. Camera pushes into Alex, terrified. He begins to hyperventilate.
Is there a problem, sir?
Alex's wild eyes and expression convey, no fucking kidding there's a problem! The flight attendant realizes this passenger is experiencing a serious episode. Directly across the aisle, Carter, Horton, and Terry look at him with severe expressions.
What's your fucking problem?
Mr. Murnau and Miss Lewton unfasten their seatbelts and rush towards Alex.
Alex? ¿Qué sé qué?
The plane's gonna explode.
Obviously, no one ever wants to hear that. The students tense. The flight attendant immediately turns to the other attendant, signaling for assistance with a quick, definite gesture. In the background, attendants hustle towards the economy class cabin on Carter and Terry.
Browning.
Alex, frenzied, begins to move towards the aisle.
We have to get out.
This frightens everyone. Not the prophecy, but his panicky, irrational behavior.
We have to get off this plane.
Clear Rivers, camera pushes into her, hearing Alex's declaration.
Now.
Return, Alex is desperately climbing over Todd, who is trying to calmly restrain his friend. Across the aisle, Carter Horton stands ready to quiet Alex with force.
Sit down, Browning.
Alex, easy, man. Take it easy.
Sir, if this is a joke, we don't tolerate such humor.
The flight attendant restrains Carter with an extended forearm.
I'm not joking.
Miss Lewton and Mr. Murnau move to their seats. Flight attendants try restraining Alex from reaching the aisle.
Alex, knock it off. It's all right.
Settle down, Alex.
Listen to me. This plane will explode on takeoff.
Sir, we will remove you from the aircraft if this continues.
Oh, moving.
Fuck you. I'll remove myself.
Carter reaches for Alex, who pushes past, trying to get out. Carter responds aggressively, and now the flight attendant, Todd, and the two teachers are in the midst of a melee. The co-pilot arrives to secure the situation. He grabs Alex and begins forcibly ushering him up the aisle. A male flight attendant chokeholds Carter from the back. Carter struggles, but the attendant's position has the advantage. He begins removing Carter from the plane as well.
He didn't do nothing.
She follows the attendant, hitting him to help her boyfriend. Just arriving in the cabin, Billy Hitchcock tries to fight past a stewardess to get to his seat. He's blocked by the massive combatants as they're escorted out.
Anybody in the aisle is off the plane. No, wait, I was late. That's my seat right there.
Under protest, Billy gets pushed back and off the plane. Mr. Murnau and Miss Lewton follow the pack of students and the airline personnel as they move towards the exit, calling out to the seated teachers and parents while hustling up the aisles.
Everybody just stay right where you are. Just sit tight.
Mr. Carpenter, keep an eye on things for a moment.
Todd watches, amazed and concerned for his friend. He looks across the cabin too. Todd's POV, George. His brother's gesture mouths, "You should go with him." Todd starts off down the aisle. The camera counters adjust to Clear Rivers. Amongst the chaos, she considers for a beat, then grabs her backpack, stands, and moves into the aisle to exit the plane. Cut to interior boarding area on the tunnel, gate 39D. Alex, the co-pilot, Carter, the attendant, Mr. Murnau, Miss Lewton, Terry, Todd, and Billy proceed down the tunnel. Billy is confused by the chaos.
I didn't do anything. I have my ticket right here.
Arriving security officers quickly have control of the situation. Alex is taken to a seat by the gate and is dropped there by the co-pilot, who, winded, eyes the officers.
You got this?
The officers nod. One moves towards Carter as he is dropped into the seat away from Alex. Terry sits behind Carter. The co-pilot and attendant start back towards the plane. Miss Lewton hustles over to them and an airline representative.
No one gets back on board. That's my call.
Please, I've got 40 students going to Paris.
During these negotiations, the camera moves past Miss Lewton and the co-pilot to the boarding ramp door. Clear Rivers exit and takes a seat away from the others, aware that she is unnoticed in the confusion. The camera inches in as she looks up towards Alex. The camera matches the move to him as Todd and Mr. Murnau attempt to calm him down.
It's all right. It's all right. You're off the plane. You're off the plane.
Rattled, Alex attempts to compose himself. Miss Lewton appears, hurriedly pulling aside Mr. Murnau.
Airline's not taking this very well. They'll let one of us back on and the rest can grab a 6:10 flight. Gets in 2 hours later at De Gaulle. It's all right. It's not that big of a deal.
I'll stay.
No, you know the whole French thing. Get on the plane.
Murnau understands his point and takes off towards the boarding ramp door. Pleading his case, Billy follows Murnau.
Well, I was in the bathroom. The lock was stuck. I didn't fight with anyone.
Hustling towards the door, Mr. Murnau gestures towards Miss Lewton as if, now talk to her. He disappears down the ramp. The camera pushes in and the airline personnel close the door with an ominous thud. Exterior gate 39, afternoon. Carter, Terry, and Billy's POV. Flight 180 pulls out of the gate, taxiing towards the runway. On the observation window, Carter turns over his shoulder, looking back angrily towards Alex. Terry wraps a calming and restraining arm around Carter's shoulder, but he starts towards Alex, seated with Mrs. Lewton. In the men's room across from gate 39, Todd races out of the bathroom with a damp paper towel. Camera follows as he hands it to Miss Lewton, seated next to Alex. The teacher places it on Alex's forehead.
I called your mom and dad. They're on their way.
Alex, talk to me. What happened?
Alex looks at Todd, who nods. His friend's expression is soothing and open, with a lowered, tense tone meant for only two people beside him.
I saw it, like, I don't know. The plane took off. I saw it leave the runway. I looked down and saw the ground.
Miss Lewton and Todd exchange concerned glances.
And then the cabin banged and the whole left side exploded. The whole plane blew up. It was so real, exactly how everything goes.
Been on many planes that blew up, have you?
Good point. Alex looks away.
I've fallen asleep.
We get thrown off the plane and blow half a day in Paris because Browning had a bad dream. It's gonna explode. It's gonna explode.
Fuck off, Horton.
Todd,
Raw nerve, Alex stands.
Only trip you're gonna take is to the fucking hospital.
Carter scoffs while moving aggressively towards Alex. Carter makes a quick move and grabs Alex. The two security guards rush in to break it up. Chaos erupts again as the boys wrestle in the terminal. At the observation deck, the camera pushes into Billy Hitchcock, depressed as he watches the plane take off.
There they go, and here we stay.
On the airport terminal, one guard restrains Alex and another Carter. In the background, out of the observation deck window, Flight 180 lifts off the runway.
I'm paying for my trip, Browning.
I wish you were on the plane.
In the background, the 747 heads and taillights suddenly, violently erupt into a gigantic fireball of flame. It takes a few seconds for the concussion to hit the terminal, but when it does, boom! A window shatters, chairs rock, people are knocked off their feet. The camera sweeps into Alex, stunned as he turns to the window. Alex's POV on Flight 180. The unceremonious speed of obliteration and hundreds of lives is cruel as flaming debris plummets from the early evening sky. Clear rivers. The camera pushes in on her, rattled, afraid, but aware of Alex as she is the first to turn his eyes towards him. On gate 39, Billy Hitchcock walks backwards from the window, shocked by shocked step. Miss Lewton drops to her chair as her legs give out. Off-screen, alarms begin. The two security guards tear off towards the urgent duties. Off-screen outside, sirens wail as emergency vehicles race to the tragedy. Camera begins to move towards Alex as Todd's head returns towards him, then Terry's, then Carter's. In the chair, beginning to cry, Miss Lewton eyes Alex as if afraid of him. Camera continues, sirens piercing, the emergency vehicles strobing red lights reflecting in Alex's eyes, now in tight as he looks out, frozen with shock upon the doomed Flight 180. Cut to interior JFK International Airport, press room 10 at night. Silence. A pair of airline representatives sit with the 7 survivors, each numb with shock. Everyone is too raw with residual fear to show any emotion. They sit in folding metal chairs in an empty room, too bright from the fluorescent lights. Beneath their obvious trauma resulting from the catastrophe, each feels uneasy by Alex's presence. The others sit away from Alex and Todd. Alex appears wrought with guilt. He checks the others out of the corner of his eye. Alex's POV of the room. Miss Lewton, Carter, and Billy glare at Alex. Terry averts her eyes from Alex to bury her face in Carter's shoulder. Alex, frightened as anyone as what has happened, tenses, defensive, and scared. With soft-spoken strength.
You're looking at me as if I caused it. I did not cause this.
Lewton, Carter, Terry, and Billy maintain their uncertain expressions, with strained apprehension as if not wanting to dabble in the occult, but needing an immediate answer.
is everyone dead? Are there any survivors?
Wider. Alex is taken aback by the answer, yet even his best friend looks to him for the answer.
How would I know? You think I'm some sort of...
He's not a witch.
Camera pushes in on Alex, relieved and thankful. As he turns to her, clears POV of Alex. The camera matches the move into her as she looks up at Alex, not with fear or repulsion, but with knowledge of an unwanted but irrefutable connection. Wider, causing a startle, the door opens. Everyone's head whips reflexively towards the entrance. The strange event of the flickering light is quickly forgotten. A half dozen men Men and women enter the room, displaying official badges and passes. All but two are dressed in casual clothing, having been called in from home. The pair being FBI Special Agents Weine and Schreck. Howard Seigel and Don Hawks are representatives of the National Transportation Safety Board. Eileen Whale and Jack Arnold are members of the Euro Air Trauma Team. The officials are sympathetic and calm, exuding the confidence and security trauma victims look for at this time.
Hello, I'm Howard Seigel, National Transportation Safety Board Vice Chairman. We've notified your families and they're on their way. Does anyone feel they need medical attention or spiritual counseling at this time?
Although the words are comforting, being in the position of having to hear them are macabre. Miss Lewton reacts, snapping.
Have they found any survivors? What's going on?
Seigel is calm yet honest, carefully honest.
The cause of the explosion is undetermined. Nassau County, as authorities are on the scene. Naval search and rescue are en route.
He gestures, and that's all we know. The group slips deeper into despair.
We understand how you must be feeling at this hour, and although we know it may be difficult, we must ask you some questions regarding today's events while it's still fresh in your minds.
The survivors dread the thought of recounting the horrible experience, yet collectively are ready to cooperate.
It may be valuable to our rescue attempts or any potential criminal investigation.
The agents, FBI badges displayed in their pockets, turn their eyes suspiciously towards Alex. Alex reacts puzzled, as if he realizes the agents are focused on him. Cut to interior, a room, airport night, close on Schreck and Weine. They are direct and professional, with no hidden agenda in searching for the truth. Seigel and Hawks from NTSB are behind him, taking notes.
You said, listen to me, this plane will explode on takeoff. How did you know that?
Alex, the camera pushes in as he looks up, nervous, not about suspicion towards him, but trying to explain what even he doesn't understand.
Got this feeling, a weird feeling. I can't explain it.
Did you take any sedatives before boarding or on the plane, sleeping pills?
No, I saw it. I saw it.
Tears well as he grows frustrated, trying to convey the unique experience. Being trained veteran officers, Schreck and Weine observe, allowing him to talk.
Not like a dream, more than that. I experienced the plane exploding. It was so horrible. I know what they all went through tonight.
The officers remain quiet, gauging his explanation.
I'm not a psychic. I've never had this happen before.
The officers study him, unsure, yet carefully.
Did this weird feeling have anything to do with you saying you wished Carter Horton was on the plane just before it exploded?
Alex looks up, stunned. He didn't even recall this until now.
No.
Why'd you say it?
He considers, owing them an explanation. Then he realizes.
Because I never thought it would really happen.
Weine leans forward.
If that's the case, Alex, why did you really get off the plane?
Camera inches in as Alex considers, confused, emotional. Cut to interior a room of the airport night. Todd. Camera continues to move on Todd, as if just realizing.
My brother told me to keep an eye on Alex. He stayed, and I went sure to make Alex was okay. He told me to get off the plane.
Interior, a second room at the airport night. Miss Lewton displaying a similar sickened expression as Todd.
Larry Murnau told me to get back on, but I told him to go. I sent him back on that plane.
Interior room at the airport night. Weine.
No one forced you to get off the plane. You told us you aren't friends with any that did, so why did you leave the airplane?
Clear Rivers. Camera inches in as she looks up with total resolve.
Because I saw and I heard Alex. And I believed him.
Cut to interior JFK International Building. Press room 10. Later. The survivors have all returned into the room. They may be a group, but they are alone with their thoughts. The group is opened by Miss Whale. Alex's mother and father led by a group of parents into the room. Each moves with grief, yet relief to their child. Barbara Browning holds up a hand and holds the hand of Alex and holds him tight. The mother begins to cry. Ken Browning, eyes welling with tears, grabs his son's hand and squeezes. Alex does not cry. While holding his mother, he watches the others. Alex's POV on Carter and Terry. Their parents are concerned, but do not demonstratively show affection. Carter appears as if he wants to hug his mother, but can't bring himself to betray his self-image. Alex, his eyes move towards, clear, alone, hurt that no one has come to take her home. Alex, his eyes find Todd and his father. Jerry Waggner holds his son, both of them releasing anguished tears. Through his grief, however, Jerry stares at Alex with an expression of anger and accusation. Alex, the camera pushes in on him as he holds his mother tightly. Overlapping, a crack of thunder. Cut to interior Ken Browning's car, night. Alex sits in the back against the door, looking out the window in the storm. Clear Rivers is pressed against the other door. Everyone is silent. Outside, the storm angrily rages. Alex is unaware that Clear is watching him, searching for some answer that she will not now find. She looks up.
Here's good.
The car pulls over.
Thank you for the ride.
She opens the door and flashes one more look at Alex, but he appears unaware. She exits the car as the door shuts. Cut to interior Alex's bedroom. The room is empty, but the camera is slowly moving, as if itself a presence. Off-screen, footsteps move up the stairs. Alex appears, his parents behind him. He clicks on the light, sending a soft, safe orange glow across the room. Alex stands at the threshold of the doorway. His mother places a comforting hand on his shoulder. Alex's POV on the pennant. Mount Abram High School fighting colonials. Alex, and now the tears arrive. He begins to cry, sobbing as his mother and father hold him. Off-screen, outside, lightning flashes, thunder, and rumbles. Cut to interior living room of the Browning house night. CNN broadcasts video footage of the disaster. Seat cushions and personal belongings float with harsh floodlights. In a living room, it is late and dark. Only the pale light of the TV spills across the living room. Ken and Barbara have fallen asleep, but their son remains awake. Alex's red eyes are locked on the screen, mortified. Off-screen, a vicious crack of lightning and immediate thunder, as if calling Alex to the window. He remains fixed on the TV. Alex's POV on the TV, an image of hell as jet fuel burns in the ocean. Off-screen, as if furious the slight, thunder bangs. On Alex, he turns, stands as he moves to the picture window, pulling the curtains aside as the camera pushes in on him. Alex's POV of the storm. It is as if nature itself is angry. Lightning bolts spiderweb across the sky. Thunder booms. A shard of lightning breaks across the front yard. Oddly, it does not make contact. In the split-second strobe of lightning flash, the bolting abstractly appears as if it were a hand pointing directly at Alex. Alex, horrified, lurches away from the window, considering what he's seen. Just felt on the roar of thunder. Cut to black. Over black.
39 days have passed since we've lost our 39 loved ones, friends, and teachers.
Fade in, exterior, Mount Abrams High School, day, close on Alex. Wearing a dark suit and tie, sits beside his parents on white folded chairs. His head is bowed, guilty and sad.
As each day passes without determining cause for the accident, we ask ourselves, why?
Alex raises his eyes to look across the ceremony. Alex's POV, Todd. He sits with his mother, Linda Waggner, and his father, Jerry. Distraught, Jerry stares off blankly at the minister.
Ecclesiastes tell us, man no more knows his time than fish taken in the fatal net.
Alex quietly averts his eyes. Ken notes this and wraps a comforting arm around his son.
Or birds trapped in a snare.
Alex checks over his shoulder. Alex's POV over his shoulder, the last row of seats. Special Agent Schreck and Weine subtly survey the area, taking notes. Although their eyes are beyond sunglasses, the tilt of their head indicates they were watching Alex.
Like these, the children of men.
Alex turns away, tense. He looks at the minister.
Caught when the time falls suddenly upon them.
Camera pushes into Alex, feeling eyes upon him. He looks up. Alex's POV on clear. is actually sexy and a bit scandalous in her black dress. Still, she is a bit off by herself, eyes burning at Alex as if challenging him to challenge the words being spoken. Alex self-consciously turns away, unable to face her, let alone the words being spoken.
And so before we can heal, before we can escape the presence of death time, we must mourn and celebrate theirs with this memorial.
Wider, a student with a guitar and harmonica stands at the microphone. Without introduction, he begins Neil Young's Long May You Run. Two other students remove a cloth, unveiling a memorial sculpture etched with the names of the departed. The gathered stand and begin paying their respects to the memorial. On the memorial line, Carter and Terry appear in frame. Terry holds up a rose. As they move slowly towards the memorial, Alex gets in line behind them. Carter knows Alex is there, but will not look at him.
I hope you don't think, Browning, that just because you ain't on this wall that I owe you anything.
I don't.
All I owe to these people is to live my life to the fullest.
Alex winces from Carter's breath.
Maybe you should lay off the JD.
Carter has an angry, reflexive reaction, grabbing Alex threateningly in the forearm. Terry immediately tries to get Carter to release his hold.
Don't ever fucking tell me again what to do. I control me, not you.
Carter and Alex lock eyes. Alex refraining from showing any pain caused by Carter's grip. Terry finally gets him to release.
I'm never gonna die.
He moves off. Terry, however, holds a beat, eyes Alex, and guiltily rubs that area of his arm, as if it's the only manner she can extend her gratitude in Carter's presence. As Alex pats her arm, Terry quickly moves off. Shaken, Alex considers whether to move forward to the memorial. He steps aside to let the others go ahead as Billy Hitchcock, as he has finished paying respects, spots Alex and heads back up the line.
I took my driver's test this week at the DMV.
Alex turns to him incredulously.
Got a 70. Lowest score, but I passed. When I was done with the test, the guy who drives with you during the test, he goes, "Young man, you're going to die at a very young age." Is that true?
Not here, not now, not ever.
Billy sighs and moves out of frame, only to quickly re-enter.
If I ask out Cynthia Pastor, will she say no?
Alex flashes Billy an angry glare as he gets the message and moves off, for good. Alex returns in line, moving towards the memorial. Valerie Lewton places a rose at the base of the memorial, then studies the engraved names of the students as they move past her. Alex approaches, watching her, as she reaches out with a trembling finger, touching the etched names. On the memorial, Linda Krause, Thomas Lewis, John McConnell. Return as Alex stands near her, sympathetically understanding her pain.
Miss Lewton.
Her eyes fill with tears and fear. Alex places a comforting hand on her shoulder, but she reacts quickly, pulling away from him, her eyes piercing his.
Don't talk to me. You scare the hell out of me.
Alex is shattered as the teacher moves away. Todd enters and faces the memorial.
Hey.
Alex notices Todd is in his line behind him. Alex looks around for Todd's father. He's not in line.
I don't want to sound gay or nothing, but I miss you.
Todd subtly nods, reaching out to the memorial. Close on the memorial, Todd's hand as it moves across his brother's name, George Waggner. Return as Todd longs for his brother, then looks at his friend.
Me too. But my dad doesn't understand. When he's better, you, me, road trip to the city, catch the Yanks.
That's a plan.
Todd nods. The two friends stand uncomfortably for a beat before Todd gestures to the podium.
I gotta go. This thing Miss Lewton showed me in her class, they're gonna let me read it. It says what I'm feeling.
Todd holds his friend's arm for strength as he passes. Clear Rivers appears in line, holding a rose. She looks at the memorial before her startling eyes turn to Alex. Even away from these circumstances, Alex would have trouble handling her intense maturity. As he begins to step away, she thrusts the rose to him. He looks up, puzzled.
Because of you, I'm still alive. Thank you.
Alex takes the rose and she walks away. Camera pushes in on him as he feels the red flower.
We say that the hour of death cannot be forecast.
Time cut. Exterior Mount Abrams High School. Day, the podium. Todd nervously stands before the assembly, reading aloud with a sad yet optimistic resolve. Camera pushes in at an ominous angle and rhythm to the podium.
But when we say this, we imagine what the hour is placed in an obscure and distant future.
As he speaks, the sunlight suddenly turns to a shadow. Alex looks up at the sky. The sky with Alex's POV. Within the deep blue, a single black cloud blocks the sun. Alex, the camera inches in as troubled, he looks back to Todd. Todd, as he continues to read.
It never occurs to us that has any connection with the day already begun, or that death could arrive this same afternoon.
Cut to exterior Waggner's house, night, establishing. Storm clouds devour a waxing crescent moon above a modest home set amongst the edge of the woods.
This afternoon, which so certain and which has every hour filled in advance.
Interior living room of the Waggner house, night. A lone light glows. Jerry Waggner has fallen asleep, perhaps passed out, reclined in Dad's chair. Todd's mother is asleep on the sofa, balls of tissue on the floor. Todd enters the room and stares sadly at his parents. Todd picks up a glass and swigs the remainder of his father's scotch before moving off and climbing the stairs. Cut to interior Alex's bedroom, night, close on the table fan, swivels as it distributes the breeze. Alex sits at his desk, dark circles beneath his eyes. Swamping the desk are printouts of the internet web pages and newspaper articles concerning the crash of Flight 180, forensic engineering textbook, NTSB reports on the past airline disasters, and reality beyond matter, Vaishnava philosophy. Alex studies his mountain of research, increasingly obsessed. An off-screen paper flutter draws his attention to the newspaper being blown by the fan. He reaches out and grabs it. Headlines and photos report on the memorial service. The camera pushes in as he sighs, troubled. Alex's POV on the news photo. Clear River sits in her seat, legs crossed, alluring and sexy and mysterious. Alex closes the paper, puzzled by his reaction. He shakes it off and throws the paper on the desk. Alex considers for a beat, then pulls open a lower drawer. Digging through the mess inside, he finds his stash, the April 1997 issue of Penthouse. Cut to interior bathroom of the Waggner house, night. A light clicks on, revealing an old 20s built bathroom. The toilet is beside the bathtub and shower, with just enough knee space for the counter cabinets if one lifts the toilet seat. Todd puts the lid down and unsnaps his jeans. As he turns and pulls his pants down, the camera moves to the curtain, still, until a cold, soft breeze causes them to billow. Camera follows in the wind as it continues into the room, rippling across the shower curtains. As the breeze passes Todd, he pauses, as if sensing, but not understanding. This is more than a wayward autumn breeze. He moves close to the window, however. Camera continues as the air makes its way to the door. The door is softly pushed closed by the breeze. Back at the toilet tank, Todd sits back to the camera, which cranes down the tank, stopping beneath the locking nut in the waterline pipe. As the toilet flushes off screen, the camera now moves down to the locking nut, which begins to silently rattle. Drips of water stream from the tank and onto the floor. Cut to interior Alex's bedroom, night. Alex flips the magazine open to a centerfold. Penthouse pictorial. The model's pose and expression tempt Alex towards the momentary respite from his troubles. The caption beneath the centerfold pictorial reads, "Time has come today." Alex considers the report of Flight 180 crash, then returns his attention to the magazine. He unzips his pants, then pauses, his eyes returning hesitantly to the newspaper photo of Clear. Cut to interior bathroom of the Waggner house, night, close on a razor blade as it waits on the counter. Camera pulls away as Todd picks it up. He looks at his face in the mirror, as if behind him, a black indiscernible form, like a shadow, however, actually a presence incapable of reflecting light. Todd whips around and a puddle forms, creeping towards the heel of Todd's stocking feet. Todd turns on the faucet and grabs his toothbrush, squeezing the paste onto the bristles. Close on the faucet, the foreground running water is out of focus. In the background sits an unplugged radio. Todd notes the radio. Camera follows his hand as he grabs the plug and the puddle on the floor. The puddle on the floor grows closer to his foot. The electrical socket of the radio plug is inserted. Todd turns on the radio.
And they say that he got crazy once he tried to touch the sun.
Spooked, he quickly turns off the radio, unplugs it, and pushes it aside. The puddle on the floor continues to grow. Cut to interior Alex's bedroom, night. On the news photo, clear rivers. Odd how one can appear so erotic at a funeral. Alex studies the photograph, then notices the rose she gave him. Succumbing to guilt, feeling like the freak all teenagers believe they are, Alex sets the paper back down on the desk. He grabs the penthouse and turns, opening the desk drawer in order to put back the magazine. However, a loud bang returns Alex's head to the window. Alex's POV on the window, an owl has apparently smashed into the window, awkwardly flapping its large wings, and then turns its head towards Alex, large yellow eyes shining like an alien creature. Wider, startled, Alex reflectively throws the penthouse across the room, pages tearing as it hits the sill. The giant bird flies off. The table fan swivels and the page catching the whirling blades. A piece of paper, torn from the magazine, flits across the room. Alex, as the camera inches in on him as the piece of paper enters frame, floating and flitting until it lands on his knee. He picks it up and turns it over. Alex's POV of the piece of paper, it's torn in such a manner that the only letters remaining from the centerfold caption are Todd. Cut to interior bathroom, Waggner house night on the shower curtain. It's pulled aside, revealing 2 pairs of Linda Waggner's nylons drying on a retractable clothing line. The puddle on the floor. His foot slips and Todd falls forward. The retractable clothesline retracts, whipping wildly. The soap dish. As Todd's hand tries to grab anything to hold him, his hand slips, knocking over a bottle of shampoo. Todd's neck. The thin clothesline coils around his neck. The plastic anger wraps beneath the cord, essentially creating a noose. The puddle on the floor. He slips again. Todd falls against the back wall of the shower stall, pulled by the retracting wire. He kicks with his feet, desperately trying to gain footing. On the shower head with Todd's POV, quickly reflecting in the chrome, the dark shadow approaches. On the bathtub, Todd's feet slip in the slick of shampoo and water. Todd's eyes, they flare as blood vessels burst. He groans, attempting to call out. On the bathroom floor, the bathroom door is closed. Interior living room of the Waggner house night. Todd's parents remain asleep. Off screen, a faint muffle can be heard. Interior bathroom of the Waggner house. His hands tear at his flesh, desperately trying to pull the cord from his neck. Todd's eyes dart desperately across the counter, towards a pair of nose hair scissors. Todd, choking, gasping, face turning purple, he reaches for the counter. On the counter, Todd's hand enters frame, the scissors sadistically just out of reach. Todd's face falls into frame, suspended by the cord, propped against the back wall of the shower stall. His bluish-purple tongue grotesquely juts from his mouth. Todd's POV, death. All 4 edges of frame appear to collapse as if by the weight of the darkness until forming a myopic center. Then, from within the center, appears Todd's face. Although the expression is serene, the pallor is grayish, until, suddenly, shockingly, Todd's face decays, as if in 10 years of rot in the grave is compressed into 72 frames. Todd, the moment of realization, his feet kick up upon the slippery basin. After a beat, they stop. Todd, as his body settles, and dies. The camera pulls away, fully revealing his lifeless form. Once beneath the tank, the camera cranes down to the floor. The water eerily retreats from the floor, slipping back towards the base of the toilet, and like a murderer, slips out of the night. Cut to exterior of the Waggner house later, close as siren lights whirl past and flash into camera. Camera cranes down, adjusting to reveal a paramedic vehicle, a Sullivan County, New York Sheriff Patrol, and an unmarked sedan. Camera continues moving until revealing Alex racing down the sidewalk. He runs to a close-up, sweating, out of breath, expression horrified as he takes in the scene before him. Special Agent Schreck and Weine stand in the front yard. Schreck subtly redirects Weine's attention towards Alex. Special Agent's POV, the boy frantically moves towards the paramedic.
What happened? Is Todd all right?
Schreck and Weine, hearing this, they turn to one another with an expression suggesting a deepening suspicion. Alex sees the officers. Assuming they're sympathetic to his concern, he starts towards them until...
Alex!
Alex stops and looks around. Beneath the tree, in the shadows of the adjacent house, stands Clear Rivers.
Get out of here.
Camera pushes into Alex, stunned. Before he can ask any further questions, a metallic clanking draws his attention back to the house. Alex's POV, a covered gurney, is rolled out the front door by the paramedics, and an official with a jacket marked coroner behind the body follows Todd's father. He pushes in the doorway and spots Alex in the front yard. Alex is pale and nauseous. His eyes follow his friend's dead body as it's rolled towards the paramedic's vehicle. Todd's father approaches Alex and the agents stand nearby.
What happened?
Mr. Waggner glares at Alex accusingly.
You.
see it?
Alex is stung and guilty. He averts his eyes. Schreck and Weine notice his reaction.
Couldn't you predict it? Couldn't you read his mind?
Alex remains silent and hurt.
Mr. Waggner,
You caused Todd so much guilt over George staying on the plane that he took his own life.
Alex is stunned and defensive.
you wouldn't do that.
Mr. Waggner turns towards the paramedics van as if, there's the proof.
He told me we would be friends again after you got better, after you got over George. Why would he make plans for the future if he were planning on killing himself?
All my wife and I will ever know is that we wouldn't have lost our youngest son if you told our oldest to get off the plane.
Alex is rocked as if having taken a punch to the face. Mr. Waggner begins to walk towards the paramedic vehicle. Alex eyes the FBI agents who, after studying for a beat, turn and move towards the vehicle. The gathered spectators begin whispering to another, clearly about Alex, causing him to search for what appears to be his only ally in Clear. But Alex's POV of the adjacent yard, Clear's gone. In the front yard, everyone has moved away from Alex, leaving him very alone. Alex's eyes remain locked on the paramedic vehicle. As the ambulance doors close on the body of his best friend, cut to exterior neighborhood, close in the leaves and the trees. A soft summer breeze passes through the leaves on a tree. A yellow leaf drops from the branch and flutters to the ground. Camera follows until it falls upon an old cracked sidewalk. A pair of worn Nikes enter the frame as if just as the leaf drops before them. The feet and camera hold until craning up to reveal Alex staring at the leaf with an expression reminiscent of the torn paper's message about Todd.
Almost got him.
Alex looks off towards a small unkempt house nestled at the edge of the woods. In the open garage stands Clear, amongst cluttered artwork, supplies, and tools. Her t-shirt sleeves have been cut off and the neckline cut low. Her jeans have a revealing hole at the spot that was once a back pocket. She wears heavy black work boots. A dog rests nearby on the floor.
It's only the end of June.
Yeah, but everything's always in transition. If you focus, even now, 1 week into summer, you can feel autumn coming. Almost like being able to see the future.
Alex reads her intention loud and clear. She returns to her artwork. The dog growls softly as Alex approaches the garage. Interior, exterior garage, Clear's house. Entering the garage, Alex gets a closer look at her artwork. It's abstract sculpture and canvas work, and pretty bad at that.
Know what this is?
She gestures to him and to approach her. He tenses, awkward, and moves closer. Clear lifts a plastic cover off the canvas. Beneath is a mess of green and brown and orange, teen angst poorly communicated. Glued to the center is a twisted piece of metal.
Like, you're mad about something?
She sighs. Thanks a lot. Then proud, but not enough to make her appear foolish over her bad artwork. Indicates the metal.
Piece of debris from the plane. I went to the shore off the crash site and it washed up on the beach.
You went there? I wanted to go there, but I thought it was off limits.
It is, but it didn't stop me. Shouldn't stop you.
Alex gently touches the piece of the plane, almost expecting to feel something more than cold metal. He looks to Clear.
Why were you there last night?
While she cleans brushes with a can of turpentine.
Look, I've seen enough TV to know the FBI doesn't investigate teen suicides. They were there last night. That means, 1, they still don't have a clue what caused the crash. 2, they haven't ruled out anything. And the fact that 7 people got off the plane is probably weird enough, not to mention that 1 of those people had a vision, or whatever, of it exploding minutes before it did explode, is highly suspicious. And it doesn't help that the visionary's friend just committed suicide.
Alex eyes her for a long beat. She turns away from him, returning the can of turpentine to the shelf.
Why were you there last night?
Clear turns to Alex. The two couldn't appear more different. She moves to a sculpture, an ugly black and green globular sculpture with a white dot at the center.
Know what this is?
Alex cocks his eyebrow, probably thinking, a mess? But tactfully shakes his head, no.
It's you.
Remaining dry and stone-faced, Alex tenses, uncomfortable.
Not a likeness. It's how you make me feel, Alex.
I'm really sorry.
Like you. The sculpture doesn't even know what or why it is reluctant to take form, and yet creating an absolute but incomprehensible attraction.
Uncertain, and yet moved, Alex listens.
Before that day, you were just another suburban nothing that would never have anything to do with my life, and I'm sure that you thought that I was some Marilyn Manson body-pierced freak or whatever. But at that moment, on the plane, I felt what you felt. I didn't know where all those emotions were coming from until you started freaking out.
Alex sighs, embarrassed.
I didn't see what you saw, but I felt it. Okay, I'm not into all that X-Files bullshit, but it was a psychic connection. Why to me? Why to you?
Jarred, he eyes her, frightened.
You can still feel it, can't you? Something from that day is still with you. I know because I can still feel you.
Alex is increasingly uncomfortable with the subject, but eased by Clear's apparent somewhat understanding, lowering his tone.
That's why I was there last night.
I've never dealt with death before. I wasn't alive when my grandparents died. I wish I could know. I mean, all this could just be in our heads. Now it feels like it's everywhere.
It's?
What if Todd is just the first of us?
The idea sends a shot of apprehension through Clear.
Is that something you're feeling?
I don't know. I wish I could just see him one more time. Then maybe I would know.
Let's go see him.
Alex reacts, shocked, and yet her impulsiveness is exciting. Cut to interior funeral home, foyer, night. The camera is low, moving across the paisley carpet. Dim light spilling through the stained glass window falls upon the creepy decor, appearing as if designed by a morose Laura Ashley, floor model coffins and urns. Camera continues, tilting up to the ceiling, revealing a stained glass skylight. Outside on the roof, two silhouettes appear. The skylight hinge cracks open. Clear leads the way, lifting the frame, then dropping through the skylight window. Alex is not as smooth as his socius criminus. Using his knee to slow his ascent, he hangs from the sill for a moment before dropping to the carpet. The camera moves with Alex and Clear through the unsettling reception area. Plastic flowers, gold candelabra, plastic cherubs and angels. A bronze plaque identifies Mount Abrams Funeral Home, The Journey's End. William Bludworth, intermediary.
Gives me a rush.
This place?
Doing something I'm not supposed to.
With a hot, mischievous smile, Clear proceeds through the hallway. Alex anxiously sighs, then follows. Interior downstairs hallway, funeral home, night. An elevator with collapsible metal door lowers into frame. Pushing the door aside, Alex and Clear proceed into the hallway. Lined with morgue green tile. Stainless steel gurneys and porcelain equipment holding yellow surgical tubing and thick foot-long needles sit in the corridor. A faint light spills from beneath the doorway. Clear reaches out at the knob, but Alex quickly grabs her hand. From a cart behind them, he pulls a latex glove out from a box and snaps it on.
Good call. Very Quincy.
Alex tries the doorknob. Locked. He looks at her, defeated. Clear quickly points to some mortician's tools in the cart. From it, Alex produces a thin 6-inch needle. He inserts the tool into the lock and jimmies the doorknob. Clack. Interior morgue funeral home. A lone desk lamp shines. Across the room, laying on a porcelain table, fluid draining tubes attached, lies Todd. A sheet is pulled up to his shoulders. He carries the macabre appearance of a corpse having been made up by a mortician. Hair combed and sprayed, skin tone too orange, blush too rouge, and lips too red. As Alex and Clear approach,
That him?
think, but why'd they make him up like Michael Jackson?
That's him, but he's not here. That whatever made him Todd is gone.
Suddenly, Todd jerks, his head lifting 4 inches.
Fuck, you fucking asshole. You think this is funny? You fucking dick? Todd, if you're not dead, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Please don't yell. Both are jolted again with shock, turning towards the voice of Mr. Bludworth. The camera pushes low angle into William Bludworth, an African-American man, early 50s, dressed in a dark suit and tie. You'll wake the dead. He flashes the dry mortician's smile, pleased by his Weine pun. Alex and Clear haven't recovered from the corpse's actions and calmly address Bludworth.
Why?
Alex completes his question by raising his hand, a la Todd's dead body. Bludworth nods, understanding. Chemicals in the vascular flush create cadaveric spasm. As the startle of the situation settles, it dawns on Alex that they have been busted. He nervously offers an explanation.
I'm a friend of his best friend. See, his father...
I know who you are. Mortician eyes Alex, understanding. Alex senses this and eases. Clear moves towards Todd's body, examining the neck area.
They said he hung himself. There's no marks.
I've crafted a reconstruction of the laryngeal prominence region with a velvetone surgical wax and permaseal. Clear moves in for a closer look, then calls Alex over to the body. After a beat of reluctance, Alex looks at Todd's neck.
What are all those tiny marks?
Alex's POV close on Todd's neck. The wounds have been filled with wax and covered by grease paint. At this proximity, however, it's apparent tiny little cuts are in the area above and below the large cut made by the wire. Cuticle lacerations. Wider.
Why would he pull at the wire if he were committing suicide?
Why would they say it was a suicide if it wasn't?
Because of the supernatural message he received, Alex is reluctant to answer. He eyes Mr. Bludworth, who, with a wry half-smile, eyes Alex as if aware of the reason behind his hesitation.
His father's pretty fucked up with denial. Maybe he couldn't deal with the thought of another accident, taking another son.
In death. The camera inches towards the mortician. In this environment, lit with the Fritz Lang shadows, Bludworth's tone, appearance, he could easily be mistaken for the personification of the subject. There are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and there are no escapes.
You saying Todd did kill himself?
Bludworth moves to Todd on the draining table, disconnecting the tubes connecting the body to the embalming chemicals. Suicide, murder, plane crash. What does it matter? He's going to end someday. From the minute you're cut loose from the wound, it's a one-way ticket on the trip to the tomb. Vile liquid oozes out of the body and onto the table. You may not realize it, but we're all just a mouse that a cat has by its tail. Every single move we make, from the mundane to the monumental, the red light we stop at or run, the people we have sex with or won't with us, the airplane we ride or walk out of, it's all part of death's sadistic design, leading to the grave.
Design.
The mortician considers as he drains some yellowish-green fluid from the table. He shrugs and continues with his work. If life is like a box of chocolates, death is like a big Milton Bradley game of mousetrap. The day you're born is just the boot, kicking from the street lamp, kicking the marble to get things rolling. Growing up is only the marble rolling down the curving chute. You feel immortal having survived school, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but you're really only at the upset of the big hand holding the steel ball that falls into the bathtub. Marriage and kids and career seem like you make it all worthwhile until the ball hits the seesaw and flips the diving man into the big barrel. In the old folks' home or the hospital, you just see the big cage rattling down until it captures the mouse. Game over. Alex considers Clear, who eyes him, conveying, this guy's whacked. Alex moves towards Bludworth.
Maybe there's no way to win, but if you figured out the game, you knew where the steel ball was rolling. Couldn't you avoid the trap and extend the playing time? Couldn't you cheat death at its own game?
Mr. Bludworth looks directly at Alex. Camera moves in on each individually. This is between the two of them. You already did that by walking off the plane. Now you got out when and how it'll come back at you. Play your hunch, Alex. If you think you can get away from it, but beware the risk of cheating the plan. Disrespecting the design could indicate a horrifying fury that would terrify even the Grim Reaper. And you don't even wanna fuck with that Mac Daddy. Alex's eyes are locked on Bludworth's chilling, pleasant smile. The mortician yanks on the tube, revealing a foot-long needle removed from Todd's spinal column. The horrific nature of death is vividly demonstrated to Alex.
Sorry we broke in.
No harm, no foul. Alex grabs her arm, starting towards the door.
We didn't find what we were looking for.
Alex looks at Bludworth.
Yeah, we did.
Mr. Bludworth. The camera pushes in on the mortician. Please, the message has been received. I'll see you soon. Cut to exterior Main Street day. Braking loudly, startlingly, a bus pulls into camera and stops. The door hisses open.
That mortician was whacked.
Camera adjusts as Alex and Clear step out of the bus and onto the street.
He was tripping on formaldehyde.
Clear starts up the street, but Alex grabs her arm and steps back, assuring the bus moves off, safely. He nods. It's safe to go. Throughout the scene, his eyes are searching for anything potentially deadly.
Said death has a design. Even before he said that, I'd been seeing patterns.
As in flannels and plaids.
Up ahead, scaffolds rise before a building being restored. Off-screen, hammering and construction work pound from above. In the foreground, tools and metal spikes. After a thumbs-up gesture, the rope is pulled up and out of frame.
How many died on Flight 180 from our group?
39.
Remember the gate number?
As Clear takes a moment to consider, Alex steers them well around the scaffolds, eyes skyward during the move.
No?
39.
This is a creepy fact. Even though past the construction, Alex checks over his shoulder to assure they're out of harm's way.
Remember the departure time?
Reaching the intersection.
Like 4:25?
Reaching the intersection, Alex pushes the pedestrian traffic light button, then steps well away from the curb. The pedestrian traffic signal, the halting red hand light, is lit.
Do you know when I was born?
Intersection, Clear sighs, growing impatient with Alex.
4:25.
Right. April 25th.
Wait, I thought you meant the time of your birth. 4:25 is in a month and a day. That's a reach.
Pedestrian traffic signal. The halting red hand turns to little white man crossing. Intersection. Clear takes a step off of the sidewalk and into the street. Alex tugs her back, looking both ways while outraged by her challenge.
My birthday is the same as the time I was meant to die. That's a reach.
Vroom! A car indeed makes a right, tearing through the intersection. Once past, Alex takes Clear by the arm and hustles them across the street.
You're sounding like one of those people who, Oswald shot Kennedy from the warehouse and hid in the theater, that shot Booth and shot Lincoln in the theater and hid in a warehouse thing.
Camera holds, revealing an unmarked sedan parked across and down from a Starbucks with outdoor seating. Schreck and Weine sit in the car, eyes coolly locked on Alex and Clear. Down the street heading west, Billy Hitchcock rides towards the Starbucks on his bicycle. Exterior Starbucks day. Sitting outside, Alex hunches over the table, increasingly anxious. Clear listens, expression skeptical.
I'm not just laying down a bunch of math here with this. I'm talking about indications, omens. That day that we were meant to die, that, if we had been aware of, would have saved everyone on the plane.
That's total bullshit. You can find death omens anywhere you want to.
She picks up her paper coffee cup.
Hey, look, coffee starts with a C and ends with an E. Oh, so does the word choke. Oh my God, we're going to choke to death. Oh no, Starbuck was a whaler, and we're gonna be harpooned.
Alex angrily glares at Clear. Camera drops her tone.
You'll go nuts if you start with that shit.
Miss Lewton appears from behind the corner. She starts towards the entrance, then pauses, tensing when she sees Alex. He cautiously flares a greeting smile. The teacher, however, averts her eyes and continues into the coffee shop. Alex sighs guiltily. Clear sympathizes with both of them.
She's leaving the school. Moving away.
Alex studies, appealing to her.
Clear, how do we know that by just sitting here, breathing this air, or sipping this coffee, having crossed the street, we haven't started in motion the events that will lead to our death? 50 years from now, 10 years, tomorrow. You don't, unless you're able to open yourself to the signs I'm willing to show you.
He leans forward, removing a piece of paper from his pocket. Close on Alex's hand as he slides across the table, opening the hand to reveal the piece of paper reading, Todd. Clear's hand enters frame to take the paper. Camera follows as she raises it, her expression obviously puzzled. As she eyes Alex for an explanation, the camera cranes down quickly to the empty paper cups on the table. A slight approaching breeze knocks them over. Down the street heading west, a somewhat cherry 1970s muscle car speeds in the direction of the Starbucks. Carter Horton is driving. Terry Chaney rides shotgun. Carter looks out the window. Carter's POV moving, Alex and Clear. She holds the paper as Alex apparently explains the story. In Carter's car, Carter scowls, his anger rising as he slows, staring at the perceived reason for his problems. Alex and Clear, her eyes turn from the paper to Alex, concerned with him.
Okay, I don't understand. Did you see Todd die? Did it happen again, like on the plane?
No, but it might as well be the same thing. This was a message from someone or something hinting at the design.
Alex, on the plane, you must have experienced some kind of hyper-awareness, but here you're suggesting Todd's death and maybe our own will happen because of an active presence?
Alex nods, feeling she's understanding.
The mortician says death has a design. Now, if you, me, Todd, Carter, Terry, Billy, Ms. Lewton messed up that design because for whatever reason I was able to see death's plan, then we cheated it. But what if it was our time? What if we were not meant to get off that plane? What if it still is our time? If it is still not finished with us? We will all still die. Now, not later.
Troubled and deeply concerned, Clear studies Alex.
Unless we find the pattern and cheat it again.
Clear sets the paper down, looking sadly at Alex.
After hearing you just now, I do believe.
Alex leans back and sighs, relieved.
That Todd killed himself.
Alex is taken aback, hurt and angry.
And there's no one left who can help me.
In Carter's car, his eyes having never left Alex, Carter suddenly cranks the wheel hard to the left to make a tight U-turn. Billy Hitchcock rides his bike. He reacts, startled by Carter's car barreling down towards him. The car cuts in front of the bike to complete the U-turn. Wider as Billy swerves to the left directly in front of an oncoming car. The car swerves right, as does Billy, avoiding a certain fatal collision for the cyclist. The oncoming car honks. Carter's car comes pulling up to the curb. Oblivious to the accident he almost caused, Carter gets out, strutting towards the tables outside of the coffee shop. Inside the car, Terry sighs.
Baby, come on, not now.
But her boyfriend continues. She gets out and hustles after him. Alex and Clear, their attention drawn by the commotion. Clear and Alex watch Carter Horton approach them, followed by Terry, who stops hurt near the curb at the crosswalk.
Carter!
In that moment, Miss Lewton exits with an espresso drink. Sensing trouble, she has no energy or desire to involve herself.
kind of a reunion here.
Let it go!
Carter steps before Miss Lewton, blocking her exit.
When are you moving?
Couple of weeks.
She can't wait to leave, while trying to walk around Carter.
Losing our favorite teacher.
Look, there's something you should all know.
Alex.
Carter eyes Alex, continuing to taunt. He raises the volume of his words to drown out Alex's words and incite conflict.
This will be hard to believe.
Whole life.
Miss Lewton's eyes flash to Alex, afraid of him.
Listen to me.
Now she
We
has to
may
move
all be
all
in
because of
danger.
Browning.
Shut up, the both of you!
The two boys stop their heated exchange.
They died. We live, okay? Get over it. I won't let that plane crash be the most important thing in my life. I'm moving on, Carter. And if you're going to waste your time beating the shit out of Alex every time you see him, then you could just drop fucking dead.
Heads and shoulders remaining angrily in Carter's direction, Terry takes a blind step off of the curb and into the crosswalk. Without a cut, a bus suddenly speeds into frame and thud, plows directly right into her. Alex, Clear, and Carter and Mrs. Lewton are splattered with blood before they can even recoil. Cut to, interior of the Browning living room, night. Close on an Alka-Seltzer fizzling in the glass, while off-screen a phone rings. Alex has crashed watching CNN. Its tense recline. Red circles rim the eyes red circles rim the lids of his eyes. He sips from the glass to settle his stomach. Ken appears from the kitchen, hand over the receiver. It's that girl? Clear? He's in the shower, Clear. Can I have him get back to you? Yeah, sure. Bye. Ken returns to the living room, concerned about his son. Alex averts his eyes, stressed and ashamed. Ken sits nearby. She's concerned about you. I'm concerned about you. Why don't you want to talk to her?
Dad,
Or me?
you and Mom have helped me out so much, but there's some things I need to understand before I can talk to anyone about it.
The father respects his young man's wishes. Ken nods. Fair enough. In the silent moment, off-screen from the television.
The National Transportation Safety Board has a new theory tonight on the possible cause of Euro Air Flight 180.
Alex quickly grabs the remote and turns up the volume. On television, a computer graphic illustrates the area of the lower fuselage.
Deterioration of the silicone insulation on the electrical connector to the scavenger pump may have leaked combustible fluids.
Alex and Ken. Alex remains riveted to the screen.
A spark in the fuel switch.
Television, the graphic zooms in on the area in the rear right side, nearly above Todd's seat.
That's Todd's seat.
Camera pushes back in as he listens.
May have ignited the fuel line and proceeded to the fuel pump.
On the television, the high-tech computer image traces the path of the explosion through the plane. A red line representing the fuel line zigs through the body of the plane, making a sharp turn towards the fuel pump, which explodes. A jagged line shows the direction of the explosion, moving backwards towards the rear of the plane. Match cut to interior Alex's bedroom on the 747 schematic. Drawn in Alex's hand and hundreds of steps down from the CNN computer image, yet accurate, as Alex's finger traces the path away from the seats marked me and Clear. The path starts over Todd, then moves to Terry. The line moves away from Carter towards the fuel pump. The corresponding jagged picture of the explosion back from its reminiscent to the hand of death, seen earlier in the lightning. It's a graphic demonstrating the arbitrary nature of death. Alex is amped, intensely more frightened as he believes.
Path of the explosion. That's death's design.
It instantly, frighteningly occurs to him. He now knows who will be next. Close in the schematic, Alex's finger moves quickly along the fuel line. After Terry, the seat intersecting the path of the fuel line over the fuel pump is marked Miss Lewton. Cut to interior Valerie Lewton's house, night. Valerie Lewton. She enters frame on the phone wearing a t-shirt and sweats.
Some nights I'm woken up by the sound of my own voice, inside my head going, no. The whole French thing, get on the plane.
Moving boxes are stacked in the living room, organized disarray of relocating. The house is old, been in the family forever. Dust marks the walls where framed photos and artwork were once displayed.
Everything here reminds me of sending Mr. Moreau back on the plane. right? I'm hoping a change will help. I've lived here my whole life, and wherever I look for great memories, you know? Now all I can see is just Mr. Murnau, those kids. Just looking out of my own front yard makes me feel nothing but fear.
She peeks out of the front curtains and looks sadly out of the front yard. Her expression alters, alarmed. Exterior Miss Lewton's house. The figure is Alex Browning. Miss Lewton steps away from the curtains.
Laura, I gotta call you back.
She immediately hangs up and speed dials.
This is Valerie Lewton. I need Agent Schreck.
Time cut, exterior Miss Lewton's house. Alex has moved closer to the house, remaining in the shadows. He checks for any passerbys. Being sure there are none, he creeps toward Miss Lewton's car. He visually inspects the exterior. As he kicks the tires, an unmarked sedan screeches up. The door is open. Startled, Alex turns to find Special Agent Schreck and Weine standing on the street, backlit in the strong headlights of their car.
What are you doing?
Alex is nervous but determined. He tells the truth.
I'm checking the air in her tires to make sure they're safe.
Special Agent Schreck and Weine, after a beat of incredulity.
Get in the car.
Interior Miss Lewton's house. Miss Lewton is watching, peeking out of the front curtains. Off screen, the car doors close as the vehicle roars off. She releases the curtains and moves back, feeling somewhat better but still rattled. Then, the curtains billow as if blown by a breeze. Miss Lewton appears puzzled as she moves the curtains aside to find the windows closed. As the camera pushes in on her, tensing and uneasy, we cut to an interrogation room at the police station. Alex sits at a table behind a cinder block room painted police station green. Sitting across from him with a good cop tone is Agent Weine, while Schreck stands with a hard-assed posture.
I believe that Ms. Lewton's next.
Next?
Yes, see, there's this pattern that's occurring.
Oh, you've noticed it too.
Cut to interior Miss Lewton's house. Miss Lewton moves to a closet door, opens it, and clicks on an overhead light. Kneeling down, she tugs on a heavy box and opens it to check the contents. Her expression warms, as if recalling a far-off memory.
Oh, Mom's favorite.
She slides a vinyl record album out of the sleeve and moves it to a turntable on a shelf, thick with dust. Valerie places the record on the stereo and sets the needle on the album. Camera sweeps in close to the turntable. Although spinning around and around, the bold letters on the center label can be read John Denver, and the opening acoustic guitar of Rocky Mountain High has never sounded so eerie.
He was born in the summer of his 27th year.
Pleased with the feeling of a pleasant memory, Lewton moves off. Interior interrogation room. Schreck moves closer to Alex.
Where'd you get this pattern from? You have another vision? Maybe saw it on some TV static?
Alex is insulted by the condescending tone.
Look, I didn't ask for what happened to me on the plane. You can make fun of me. You can think I'm a nut. I'm used to it. I saved 6 lives, but the entire school acts like I'm a freak. Fine.
Alex takes a nervous breath.
I'm not suffering from post-traumatic stress. I haven't developed a narcissistic deity complex. I'm not going Dahmer. This just is. There's a pattern in place for you and you. There's a design for everyone.
The agents study Alex.
And I'm not sure yet how, but I intend to break this one.
Cut to interior Miss Lewton's kitchen on a set of cutlery knives, held on a wood block, sits atop the kitchen counter. In the background, Valerie removes the chrome teapot from the stove and moves it to the sink. John Denver continues in the next room. Miss Lewton turns to the faucet, pours water into the kettle. Some water spills on the side of the kettle. As she wipes the pot with a blue checked hand towel, a dark shadow appears to cross behind her. Miss Lewton turns. The camera follows, circling as she looks around the room, only to find that she's alone. Unsettled, she absentmindedly tosses the towel on the counter, the edge which catches the knife blade held on the cutlery block. On the stove, Miss Lewton turns on the gas, adjusts it, however, the flames blow out. She pauses, nervous and on edge. Her eyes cautiously move around the room and finds nothing. She grabs a pack of nearby matches and strikes one.
He left yesterday behind him. You might say he's born again.
Camera pushes into the burner as the flames reignite and fill the frame. Cut to interior interrogation room, the police station. Weine sits across from Alex, sympathetic but professional.
Alex, you got our attention at first because you were under suspicion in the plane explosion.
Alex tenses, but Weine shakes his head.
Now I know you didn't blow up that plane.
Alex sighs. Ease.
I don't believe you have magical powers. No one has any control over life and death, unless that person is taking lives and causing death.
Weine leans forward towards Alex.
Alex, can you promise me that no one else will die?
No, I can't. As long as I'm in here, it's out of my control.
The agents are taken aback by his answer. Unnerved by his sincerity, Weine sighs and looks to his partner, who sighs, frustrated, and turns away.
All right, go on. Get out of here.
Alex stands and, with no urgency, moves off. He exits the room.
Kid gives me the creeps.
We got nothing to hold him.
I don't mean that. There's a couple of times there, I almost believed him.
Weine considers and yet remains skeptical.
Sometimes you give me the creeps.
Cut to Miss Lewton's house, close in the teapot, as it whistles.
When he first came to the mountains, his life was far away.
On the coffee mug overhead, 2 tea bags are dropped inside in the steaming hot water. Miss Lewton picks up the cup, raising it towards her lips. She pauses, and her expression turns tragic. On a reflex, she spins towards the sink and throws the hot contents down the drain. She sets the mug down. On the coffee mug, it enters frame, displaying the logo of Mount Abrams Fighting Colonials. Miss Lewton, trembling, she takes a deep breath, getting a hold of herself.
Gotta stop this. Stop this. It's just a stupid mug. You're out of here. Pretty soon. You'll be gone.
Opening the refrigerator freezer, she grabs some ice and a bottle of pure Polish vodka, then deliberately turns back towards the same mug, or the coffee mug. The ice cubes plunk. The cold alcohol pours into the hot mug. Camera pushes into the mug as it cracks slightly, vodka dripping out of the base. Lewton's hand picks up the mug, oblivious to the crack. She moves off towards the living room, leaving a trail of alcohol. Cut to exterior police station. Alex exits the station walking. He checks over his shoulder to see if he's being watched and increases his pace, legs whipping across frame. Cut to interior Miss Lewton's house. Miss Lewton tears off a piece of plastic bubble wrap. She stands over the desk, places it against the wall. On the desk is her desktop computer monitor.
It's the Colorado Rocky Mountain High.
She pauses to swig from her cup of vodka. Extremely close in the coffee mug as alcohol drips from her mug into the computer monitor vent as fluid drips inside the circuitry. Miss Lewton sets the mug out of the way on the back edge of the desk. And the coffee mug, the remaining vodka oozes from the crack, pools, and then drips off of the edge of the desk.
I've seen it rain and fire from the sky.
Camera cranes down to reveal the monitor cable inserted into the electrical wall socket. The vodka drips past frame. Then Lewton's hand enters and pulls the monitor plug, creating tiny sparks at the connection. On the floor, the alcohol ignites. Miss Lewton, her back to the desk, while pouring styrofoam peanuts into a box. In the background, flames nearly supernaturally leap up the wall and towards the computer monitor. Closing the computer monitor through the vents, the interior catches fire, causing an electrical pop. Miss Lewton turns, holding her sheet of bubble wrap, shocked by the flames. The computer monitor on the screen, the reflection of the approaching shadow, passes before the monitor and explodes. Miss Lewton, a large jagged shard from the monitor, flies into her throat. Blood squirts from her neck and onto the bubble wrap. Her stunned expression is sickeningly numb from shock.
Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
She reaches up reflectively to pull the glass from her throat, creating a flood of spurting blood. She drops the glass and quickly stumbles towards the kitchen, blindly banging the turntable as she passes. The needle skips, bumps, and settles unmercifully at the start of Rocky Mountain High. Cut to in the neighborhood street, night. Alex walks quickly up the street. Smoke wafts before him. He turns to see a man burning leaves in the backyard. The breeze intensifies, lifting burning debris. The smoke swirls around him. Camera pushes into Alex as he senses the presence. He looks around. Alex's POV of 24 leaves as they mystically float past him, each on fire. Alex senses the taunting message and breaks into a full sprint, passing through many of the burning leaves that break up into the bright orange cinders against the black sky. Cut to interior living room of Miss Lewton's house. The flames reach the coffee mug, igniting the trickling stream leading to and away from the crack in the cup. On the floor, the flames ride the small trickle of vodka back towards the kitchen. In the kitchen, Valerie races in, desperately pressing her hand to her throat as she gurgles and chokes in the blood from the wound. She leans over the now red sink. She turns pale from the blood loss. On the stove, the flaming stream shoots up the stove, lighting up the burners. Miss Lewton beside her, the stove erupts in flames. They jump, leap like a tiger, landing on her shoulders and hair, which catch on fire. Cut to exterior Miss Lewton's house. Alex approaches the front of the house. From there, nothing appears to be wrong. As he catches his breath, sweating, visually examining the house. From inside, a hoarse, macabre scream. Camera pushes in on Alex, stunned, before he races off towards the house. Interior Miss Lewton's house, as Miss Lewton drops into frame on her kitchen floor, hair and sweatshirt aflame. She desperately rolls on the floor and manages to extinguish the flames. On her back on the floor, she is badly burned. Her open neck wound continues to bleed. Blood pools on the floor. In shock and moving on pure survival instinct, she reaches up. On her POV, we can see the hand towel. The lower third of the towel dangles over the edge of the countertop. Her hand grabs it and pulls. On the countertop, the drape edge of the towel pulls over the cutlery block. The knives spill out, entangled in the hand towel.
Miss Lewton!
In the kitchen doorway, Alex rushes over the threshold as Miss Lewton pulls the knives over the counter. Miss Lewton, a half a dozen knives, from small but sharp cutting blades to large butcher knives, cascade into her body.
They say that he got crazy once and he tried to touch the sun.
Her hand trembling, her expression horrified, Miss Lewton grabs the handle of the largest blade, trying to pull it out. Alex quickly kneels next to her. She looks at him in shock, her eyes pleading. Alex gathers his courage, places his hand on the handle of the largest blade. As he's about to remove it, the stove and the gas line erupts, causing a small explosion. On the countertop, the cutlery block gets knocked off the counter. Miss Lewton, the block lands directly on the butcher knife handle, driving the blade further into Miss Lewton's body. On the Miss Lewton's POV, the shadow descends, the frame collapsing into her face, eerily peaceful but lifeless gray, horrifically decays, flesh rotting, worms feeding on the muscle until only a skull remains. Miss Lewton, as death arrives, her eyes are macabrely focused above her. Alex, even as blood squirts on him from the open wound, he appears to realize she is seeing the moment of death.
Miss Lewton!
Flames leap from the stove to the curtains, which catch fire. Alex grabs the knife to pull it out. He quickly removes another and another, yet there is no reaction from the woman. Knowing she is dead, Alex pauses with guilt. He looks at the knife in his hand, then realizing how incriminating this all appears. In that moment, another small explosion from the stove brings Alex quickly to his feet. He drops the knife on the floor and races from the house, and the camera tilts down to the bloody footprints left in the pool of blood. Cut to exterior Lewton Street, night. Alex runs with all his strength away from Lewton's house. Billy Hitchcock is riding his bicycle in Alex's direction. He stops and gets off his bike.
Hey, Alex.
Alex appears unaware as he simply runs past Billy, who curiously turns his head to watch Alex race up the street. Off-screen, the crackling of fire. The camera moves into Billy as he turns back, reacting with shock to Miss Lewton's house. The house from inside, an intense explosion repels glass from the windows. Flame engulfs the entire house. Alex, even down the street, he's knocked to his feet by the blast. In the distance, sirens from the approaching police and fire trucks are heard. He stands, looks now to a suspicious Billy, then opts to run away from the scene, escaping into the dark back alleys of the neighborhood. Cut to interior-exterior garage of Clear's house. Clear, tense, her eyes look left, then right.
I don't know where he is. He's not talking to me.
Wider, Agent Schreck and Weine stand before Clear in her garage.
Why?
She studies the men before averting her eyes.
Because I didn't believe him.
The agents study her. Weine accepts the explanation. Schreck's eyes take a walk around the artwork in the garage, pausing on a piece of twisted metal from the crash. Clear tenses, however.
If he should contact you, it would be in the best interest of your own safety to contact us.
Schreck hands his card. She takes it and nods. Schreck pauses and then eyeing the painting before moving off at the garage in their own car. Camera pushes in on Clear as she looks at the business card. Cut to exterior Mount Abrams High School. Camera pushes in on the Flight 180 memorial, lit for dramatic effect at night, but only achieving an eeriness. Carter and Billy enter frame, moving towards the monument. Billy is riding his bicycle wearing the New York Rangers jersey with Hitchcock across the back of the shoulders. Nearing the shadows, the two boys stop looking at the monument. Carter pulls out a heavy pocket knife and starts attempting to cut into the stone.
What are you doing?
His name should be on this wall.
Clear is touched by the action.
So why did you want to meet us here now?
They're watching me. See if I go to Alex.
Are you?
Follow my car. That's why you're taking me.
What would I want to see him?
Clear eyes the two of them, with the memorial standing behind them.
Because he knows which one of us is next.
As Carter and Billy feel the chill of their inner fears. Cut to exterior highway night. The muscle car roars in the US 17 on-ramp. The sign near the road indicates Middletown 25 miles, New York 105. Interior Carter's car. Carter checks the rear view. Clear looks out of the front passenger window. She shakes her head as if no one is following us. Billy leans forward from the back seat.
Okay, drive the speed limit, right?
He sits back out of frame, but darts quickly forward.
And don't pass on the right.
Billy, I'm getting a vision. You're the next one.
Hey, man, why'd you say that?
Because if you say another word, I'm gonna fucking kill ya.
Billy sits back, gesturing, I hear ya, got it. Clear pays no attention to their exchange as she stares into the darkness, her thoughts a million miles away. Exterior seashore, Jones Beach State Park, night. A posted sign indicates accident site. Any debris found should be reported to the NTSB. Camera finds Carter's car pulling up to a stop. Clear opens the passenger door and pauses in the car for a moment.
He can be anywhere from here to a mile down the shore. You guys drive down there. Start this way and we'll meet in the middle. It'll take half the time.
Clear closes the door. Carter and Billy drive off. As she looks at the beach, cut to exterior beach night. Camera facing the ocean moves along the shore, revealing a lone image standing on the beach, or sitting on the beach looking into the Atlantic. The waves are small but rhythmic, and an internal metronome. Numb, Alex sits in the sand, searching for an answer somewhere in the darkness of the evening sea. Behind him, off screen, approaching in the sand, soft footsteps. He listens and notices them. Yet, rather than turn around, he looks up to the sky. Alex's POV, the shoreline lights cast an orange haze to the stars, breaking through infinitely above.
Are they up there?
Wider, Clear approaches, barefoot in the sand. He needn't turn to know who's behind him.
Somehow, is Flight 180 still in flight somewhere? Are they still safe?
Clear hasn't met eyes with Alex, but she sits nearby, looking into the sky.
When I was a kid, like 6 or 7, I used to worry so much about my parents dying. Like lying awake at night, just worrying. I love them so much. I didn't want them to get hurt, and what would happen to me? What would life be like? Every night, it seemed.
Looks off to the stars. He doesn't eye her either.
Most kids do, I guess.
Most kids never have it happen.
Alex hangs his head.
When I was 10, my dad went into a 7-Eleven for cigarettes. I guess he heard somebody say, don't turn around, so on reflex, or thinking a friend was joking, he did. The guy blew his head off.
She's lived this so many times. She's long beyond crying.
Let me tell you, I had every reason to worry before, because life became shit. I don't blame her, I guess, but my mom couldn't deal with it all. She married this asshole who my mom with my real dad would cross the street to avoid this guy. He didn't really want a kid, so my mom didn't either anymore, I guess. If that was the design for my father and my family, then fuck death. Fuck it.
The wave continued to shore. Clear looks up to the sky.
And so anyway, I thought of this, that somewhere, Alex, it exists, that place.
He looks at her.
My dad is still safe. We had a full pack of cigarettes and kept driving. A place where me and my dad and my mom are still together and have no idea about this second life here. A place where our friends are still in the sky. Where everyone gets a second chance.
She looks at him.
That place might only exist in my heart. And maybe now, yours. I haven't experienced too many second chances in my life, but I haven't seen any. But because of all of this, I believe, because of you, I will get a second chance. Because of me, you will. With you in my life, that place right now existing in our hearts will spring out and become a real part of this life.
Alex looks within her as a soft ocean breeze blows through Clear's hair.
And that is the only way we can beat death. By making something special out of life.
His eyes well with tears. Only as she looks at Alex does Clear become emotional. They move closer and kiss. The desire for each other to defy the events around them, the darkness, the isolation. They dive into a deep, feverish kiss, embracing as if the tighter, the safer. She pulls him back down to the beach and lifts his shirt over his head.
This won't be safe.
Clear looks down the beach, checking for any sign of Billy or Carter.
Those guys are probably 15 minutes away.
No, I mean, I don't have anything on me. This won't be safe.
Nothing is anymore.
Alex looks to Clear, then kisses her with a passion that reflects the defiance of death. He pulls open her shirt and falls back into her arms. Camera cranes up as the young man and woman make love in the sand, consciously and defiantly oblivious to everything around them, including the stars, possibly Flight 180 up above. Cut to interior Carter's car at night. Carter drives, Billy drives shotgun. Alex and Clear are in the back, everyone anxious, looking for the cops.
I can't go home. After Lewton's, they'll be after me.
We're taking you to a cabin in the woods. It's only a couple of miles from my house. Keep off the highways. They'll be looking for us.
Carter, however, continually glances into the rear view, checking Alex. Finally, hot-headed and unable to withhold it any further.
All right, Browning, you fucking warlock. Did you know about Mrs. Lewton or what?
Why do you think I was hiding?
Billy told the FBI he saw you running away from her house.
They blame me for everything. Her, Todd, the plane crash.
Your shoe prints were in the blood. Your fingerprints on the knives.
I already told you.
I'm not talking about if you did, or if you knew she was dead. Did you know she was going to be next before she was?
Alex looks at Clear, her expression asking the same question.
Yeah. When she died, at that moment, I could tell she saw something horrible.
The three others turn quiet, considering what it must be.
Out of us. Who's next to see it?
Alex eyes them, hesitant to respond.
Please tell me I'm going to get to see the Jets win the Super Bowl.
Me, right? That's why you're not saying?
Billy looks out the window, despondent.
I should have felt up Tammy in the pool that time.
What do you want to know about? He said I'm next.
Didn't say nothing. Just drive.
You have a responsibility to tell me.
Is knowing going to make it easier? It makes it harder.
You get off having control over me. Let me choose how to deal with it.
It doesn't matter who's next. We're all on the same list.
The three are silent.
Oh, fuck. Really?
Carter's expression becomes frightened, but he cannot have this. He counters with irrational bravado.
Then why bother? What's the fucking point? Jerry and me will be back together on the other side, so why wait any longer?
Carter bears down on the wheel, hits the gas. At an intersection, the muscle car roars past a stop sign. Inside Carter's car, the interior bounces as it clears the dip past the intersection. Alex, Clear, and Billy tense.
Knock it off.
May as well go out under my own free will, right?
Not with us in the fucking car.
The car guns it to another stop sign. Back in the car, every passenger hangs on as the car bounces from the next dip.
Stop it.
Hey, come on, man.
What's your fucking worry? If it's not your time, I could get nailed running this red light and you all wouldn't get shit Only me, right?
Knock it
No.
off.
Exterior traffic intersection. A red light. A car approaches from the green lighted right away. Carter's car tears into frame, just missing being T-boned at the intersection as the other car hits the brakes, fishtailing. Back in Carter's car.
And I fucking hated French class.
Carter, stop it,
You
you
can
fucking
pull yourself.
maniac.
That's what I'm doing.
I know what you're doing. It's all right to be scared, Carter. You don't have to prove to us how big your balls are. Not now.
Not afraid. I decide when it's my time. I control my life. I control my death.
Watch it. Watch it.
At a second traffic light, Carter barrels through the intersection as the car makes a left turn into the intersection. We see Carter's car flying down the road, appearing to be heading straight towards him. In Carter's car, Carter takes his hand off the wheel and raises them into the air like a terrorized child on a roller coaster. And at the second traffic intersection, the turning car honks, roaring through the intersection as Carter's car nearly clips the rear end of the turning car. In Carter's car, Carter hooks his elbow on the window as his right arm around the front seat, driving, no hands.
Stop
Let
the
us
car.
out.
I am so close to puking, you don't want to know.
We're afraid too, Carter, but we're not going to quit. Maybe you are. You act like you're not, but you are.
Carter eyes clear in the rearview window.
So stop what you're doing now and stop this car right fucking now.
At the back street, in the back street, Alex and Clear ease as the railroad crossing arm drops into frame. In the rear window, off screen, the clang, clang, clang of the railroad crossing alarm. Out of the front window, the front crossing arm drops into frame before the car. Carter turns and flashes the "That's why I stopped" smile. Inside the car,
Move it.
Carter turns off the engine, then sits back into his seat and folds his arms, indicating he has no intention of moving.
Billy, get out.
Scared to death, Billy fumbles with the door handle. From the front passenger seat, he looks up and to his left. Out of the driver's window, we can see a locomotive headlight arcing across the trees, approaching. Back to the car.
Can't you open the door?
Easy, Billy. Just open it.
Billy collects himself, and the door handle pops open. The train tracks. The train appears from around the blind bend. In Carter's car, Billy opens the door and pours out. Clear and Alex are quickly behind him. Carter remains in the driver's seat. Exterior of the train tracks. The train warning whistle blows as Alex, Clear, and Billy hustle away from the train. On the same side of the tracks, they quickly turn around, desperate to convince.
Carter, get out.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
It's coming. It's coming.
Interior Carter's car. Arms raised, Carter remains in the front seat. As the interior fills with light from the headlight of the oncoming train, Carter turns to look to them with a smart-ass smile, pleased that he's shown how brave he truly is, with a beam of cocky defiance.
It ain't my time.
He coolly turns back to the ignition, grabs the key and turns it over, only to be met with the dull clack of a dead engine. The camera sweeps into him as his eyes flare with tension. Closing the ignition, he turns it again and again. Nothing. Carter looks up. Exterior train tracks, night. Carter's POV on the train is moments away. Alex, Clear, and Billy assess the situation.
Out. Get out of the
Get out of
car.
the car.
Get out of the fucking car.
Interior Carter's car. As he turns away from them, Carter sees something in the rearview mirror. Carter's POV, the passing shadow is darker than any surrounding darkness. As if the image has affected Carter, he looks back to his lap belt and it clacks the button. He tugs at the restraint, but it won't move. He's strapped in. He tries to open the door, but it won't open. He pulls the door handle, tugs the seatbelt. Panicked, horrified, he whips towards the others.
Get out.
Exterior train tracks. Alex, Billy, and Clear look at one another, equally frightened.
Oh man, he really is next.
Alex takes off towards Carter's car. Alex hustles around the driver's side, camera sweeping into them as Alex desperately tries to free the seatbelt. The train whistle screams as Clear and Billy tense. The train nears as Alex grabs Carter by the shoulders and strains with all his might to pull the much more muscular kid out of the driver's window. Close on Carter's seatbelt as the shadowy presence is reflected in the chrome buckle. However, after it passes, the seatbelt begins to tear. As the camera sweeps back in to Alex, he releases with a deep groan across the tracks. The train tears through the front end of the muscular car. Glass and metal erupt as the locomotive thunders through frame. Clear and Billy must turn away from the shower of metal and broken glass. Alex holds Carter by the shirt and the shoulders, dragging him away from the wreckage. The two boys collapse on the road as the train continues to roar past. On the train tracks, the heavy train wheels thunder and clack. Two broken foot-long shards of the car's debris bounce upon the tracks, kicked about by the train's wheels. Clear and Billy run to the two survivors. Clear runs and falls into Alex's arms, holding him tight. Alex, Clear, Carter, and Billy. Carter lies on the ground, urine stains around his crotch, hyperventilating and near tears.
Scared now?
Carter looks at the piece of seatbelt.
Broke.
No one's that strong.
Bullshit. He saved your life. Again.
Close on the train wheels, they continue to kick around the chunk of twisted metal. The thundering train intensifies the situation.
Well, that's right. He's right. You are next. I'm getting the fuck away from you.
Billy begins to back away from the others.
Billy.
We don't need this now.
Billy continues to back away, horrified.
I don't need it ever. Get away from him. He's next.
Close on the train tracks, the debris rattles beneath the wheels as Carter and Alex, still on the ground.
I'm not dead.
Billy backing away.
You will be. You're dead. You're dead.
Train tracks, the debris bounces directly on the track. With great power and force, the train wheel runs over the debris, cutting it in half. It catches the wheel and is spun around until it's shot out with a force like a missile. Billy.
And you ain't taking me with you.
The metal tears across frame, ripping Billy's head from his shoulders. Alex, Clear, and Carter. The roar of the train seems exaggerated as they are frozen in horrified shock. Across the tracks, the train clears frame and is gone, revealing across the tracks, Alex, Clear, and Carter can do nothing but watch Billy's decapitated body macabrely wobble on its 2 front feet before falling to the ground.
Jesus.
For a beat, there's silence, until in the distance, sirens can be heard approaching. As Alex stands and Carter manages to rise on his wobbly legs, none of them can remove their eyes from Billy's body.
You should have been next. After Lewton, you should have been next. That's the only pattern. You should be dead.
No.
But I saved him. I intervened, just like on the plane. That's the design.
Police are coming.
That's why it skipped Carter and went to the next one in the path of the explosion. Billy.
Alex looks at Clear as if experiencing an intense epiphany.
My intervention in the death of 180 survivors will cheat the design.
Intervention? Where are you, God, now?
Of course not. Gods aren't afraid to die. Gods don't die. We do.
You're losing it. The police will be here. We have to go to the cabin. You can hide there. Get your head together.
Alex considers, mind racing, then realizes.
After Billy, it's me. And then you.
Clear grabs Clear and touches her face.
Hey, I won't let it happen, okay?
Carter turns to them. It's as far as he's willing to go to admit he believes, or will help.
Get out of here.
As she moves to Alex, Clear nods her acknowledgement and appreciation to Carter. She takes Alex by the hand and the pair begin running away, off into the woods. In the distance, a train whistle blows, eerie, as if death is punctuating the moment. Cut to exterior cabin. The windows are boarded. The front steps are worn and dilapidated. In the early evening moonlight, the dwelling appears to be eerie and ghostly. Camera sweeps towards the house, a pre-storm breeze swaying branches in the blowing leaves. In the distance, lightning. On a small table inside the cabin, a final piece of duct tape is applied to the corner of the table, dulling any sharp edge. Even though it's sunny outside, all the shades are pulled. The room sits in dark shadow, broken by the occasional bright shafts of light. Camera follows as it carefully picks up the Coleman lantern and sets it atop an empty can placed in the center and above water line of large metal tub, a fire-protected moat. Alex finds his way to a chair in the center of the room, away from everything except a nearby table holding a fire extinguisher and a first aid kit, both at less than arm's reach. Unshaven, a week and a half's growth, and unkempt, Alex looks horrible. An anxious zombie, especially in the dim glow of the lantern. Dark circles from lack of sleep, thin from lack of food, pale from lack of sunlight. He places workman's gloves on his hands before picking up a can of Underwood chicken spread. From the degree of difficulty, he works the gloves underneath the tab and pulls. Careful not to cut himself, he reaches out and drops the lid into a small trash can. Alex removes the gloves and with a plastic spoon begins to eat. Camera pushes in as he begins to chew methodically, chewing and chewing and chewing with small concentration until, after steadying himself, prepares to swallow. Then, carefully does. A pause. He's all right. He takes the spoon and scoops some more, and the process begins again. Cut to interior bathroom at Clear's River House. A pink circle fills the entire frame. Extremely close on Clear's eyes, they look downward, anxious and filled with thought, on a home pregnancy test. The results are positive. 2 pink dots, confirming. Wider as Clear sighs, frightened as she tosses the test upon a half dozen other discarded tests. You can never be too sure. Outside, the wind of an approaching storm blows. Camera tensely inches in on Clear as we cut to interior of the cabin, the crack beneath the door. The resulting thunder rumbles. A breeze blows beneath the door, carrying some autumn leaves. Camera follows the breeze across the floor to Alex's pant leg, which slightly flutters. Camera rises to Alex sitting in his safe chair, paranoid and obsessively cautious. His eyes look towards the door, anticipating the consequential events. Following the path of the breeze, Alex turns around. Alex's POV of the trash bag, the brown shopping bag, tips over. Amidst the trash spread on the floor, the can rolls out and across. Alex tenses. He doesn't look where the can has been, but where it's going. Alex's POV as the can rolls across the floor and gently hits the end of a fishing pole propped up in the corner. The pole teeters and falls over. The fishing hook falls, catching a closet door. The door begins to swing open. Alex is quickly out of the safe chair, hustling forwards as the door slams shut. Alex slams the door shut before it can open. Behind the door, a crash as something falls. Alex cracks a wicked half smile. Cocky, he has caught death before his attempt has brought to fruition. Alex removes the hook from the door and places the pole on the floor. He cautiously opens the door, revealing an old fish scaling knife embedded in the back side of the door, unaware. Removing the knife and securing it, his eyes are turned towards the door, towards the floor. On the closet door, a tackle box has spilled thick, rusted old treble and Aberdeen fishing hooks on the floor. Alex bends down and examines them.
Rusted, tetanus. Nice touch. I overlooked it. You tried to capitalize, but I caught you. You fuck. I can beat you. Not forever, but I got this cabin rigged to beat you now.
Off screen, a sound, like a thump near the cabin steps. He freezes like an animal sensing danger. Thunder rumbles. The light around him begins to flicker and sway. The Coleman lantern as a draft creeps in behind the glass enclosure, the flame dancing. Cut to interior Clear's house. As she enters frame, Clear peeks out of the window, careful not to be seen. Her POV, the unmarked FBI sedan, maintains surveillance. Schreck and Weine sit inside. In Clear's bedroom, distant, approaching thunder rumbles as she steps away, the weight of the world on her shoulders. Clear paces, considering her options, and looks to the bookshelf at an old photograph. A man in his early 30s holds a 6-year-old in his arms, waving at the camera. Both appear happy and alive. They are standing before the cabin, surrounded by the thick woods. The photograph is turned over. On the back is marked in a young girl's handwriting, "Me and Dad at the cabin, 1986. As clear as the camera pushes into her, considering life. Then, now, and what is to come. Cut to the interior of the unmarked car. Weine sits in the passenger seat, looking through a pair of binoculars. Schreck is behind the wheel.
She was up there a minute ago.
A figure steps into the driver's side window from the rear. The 2 agents are startled as Clear leans into frame. She pauses, gauging their trustworthiness, and then...
I'm not turning him in. There's another life that needs him now.
The 2 agents remain respectful.
I go with you.
You can't.
She considers and understands.
Don't hurt him.
Tell us where he is. Wait at home and I promise we'll bring him back safe in protective custody.
As she senses the agent's sincerity, and how we cut to the cabin. Distant thunder echoes. Alex kindles a fire in the fireplace, balling up old newspaper. He begins to crumble the local news, then pauses. The headline catches his attention. The camera inches in on him, tense, while thunder rumbles. He unrolls the paper, his expression is rocked, anxious. He cocks his head to consider, recalling, his camera pushes all the way back to, headline of the crumpled newspaper. Parents to establish memorial scholarship. Beside the headline are 2 yearbook photos, Christa Marsh and Blake Dreyer. Alex, his expression reflecting a terrifying revelation.
I never moved. Christa asked me to move, but I didn't change seats. I would have moved up next to Todd. How could I not remember that? I moved. I never moved. Clear's seat was in front of mine.
Camera pushes into a tight close-up.
She's next.
Cut to Clear's house. Clear paces in her living room. She moves to the curtains and checks out the window. Although it's not raining, lightning cracks across the sky. A power line. As the lightning strikes the top of the pole, snapping 2 power lines which whip into the wind. In Clear's house, the power goes out. The room goes dark. Outside, a brilliant bluish-white arc lights crackle. Clear moves to the window. Clear's POV of the power lines. They arc violently, striking the ground and each other. Each line whips unpredictably like an uncontrolled garden hose with the water turned on full. And yet, there's a mean, angry, taunting personality to the 2 power lines, as if death were within them. In Clear's house, she assesses the situation and moves to a pair of candles at the mantel, lighting them with a bic. Off-screen in the background, a dog barks. Clear brings the candle through the small house. Interior kitchen. Clear moves quickly to the kitchen, holding the candle. Outside, blue light crackles. She looks to the backyard. Through her POV, an old circular clothesline turns like a pinwheel in the wind. In the center of the yard is an oblong, tarped above-ground pool. In the furthest corner of the yard, her dog is chained to a tree, barking and freaked out. An old tire swing rocks from the storm. In a matter of seconds, or in a matter in which the house is situated and the length of which the snapped power lines, one is capable of reaching the yard. The power line strikes the ground, closing in on the dog. In the kitchen, Clear considers the danger of venturing out to get her dog. Although no window is open, the power line has shut off any air conditioning. The candle flame whips, then extinguishes. The blue smoke swirls ominously in the room. In the backyard, on the clothesline, the sharp metal edges spin, glinting blue arc light. Cut to exterior of the cabin. Alex charges out of the front door, leaping over the steps. Off screen, several cars approach, headlights pan across the trees. Alex stops dead in his tracks and runs into the woods. Just as the FBI's unmarked sedan and 3 sheriff 4x4s thunder up to the cabin, siren lights swirling. In the unmarked car, Weine is driving, leading to the other vehicles. Schreck points out the passenger window.
There!
Exterior of the cabin. Alex, at a full sprint, disappears into the dark forest. Wider, the cars break to a stop, skidding in the dirt. Sheriffs leap up from their vehicles. High-powered flashlight beams shoot in Alex's direction. The officers take off after the suspect. At Clear's house, the back door opens. Clear charges into the backyard as the dog, helpless, chain wrapped around the tree. Thunder rumbles. Clear continues to run as the circular clothesline is whipped by the power line. Sparks fly as the base pole snaps in 2. On Clear as the metal pole plunges into the ground just before and behind her, inches from impaling her. She stumbles, but quickly steps aside and continues towards the tree. The circular clothesline frame is rolled by the wind across the yard towards the above-ground pool. The clothesline frame punctures the pool. Water streams from the rupture. Clear reaches the tree and begins unfastening the dog's collar from the chain. The power lines whipping strike one another, causing an angry flash. The rivets holding the pool frame begin to break and pop. Water floods into the yard. Cut to exterior forest night. Camera moves with Alex blindly running through the forest. Sheriff's flashlights beam behind him in pursuit. Looking back to the positions of the agents, Alex blindly runs over the lip of a downward slope and a gully as he rolls and tumbles uncontrollably down the slope. As he nears the base, Alex stops with a crunching thud, his face an inch from being impaled by a sharp, thick, protruding branch. No time to catch his breath. He's up and running. Cut to the backyard, where it Clear's feet as water floods, pooling in the backyard, cascading over Clear's feet. She looks down in the reflection of the puddle. The dark shadow passes. Clear whips up, checking the position of the power line as it coils like a cobra, ready to strike. On a tree as Clear drops the chain and hits the dog in the backside.
Go! Run!
The dog starts to tear off towards the house. Clear runs towards the hanging tire and leaps. The power line whips, the fraying tires hitting the puddle of water. As Clear in midair, desperate to grab the tire, hanging on literally for her life. Off screen, the dog yelps. Clear turns back. And from her POV, the dog as it convulses in a small pool of water burning from an overwhelming amount of electricity. Cut to exterior forest on the small creek. Distant flashlights reflect in the small stream, barely 2 inches deep. Alex's foot splashes in the water as thunder rumbles. Alex races towards the path of the stream as sheriffs continue their pursuit among the dark trees. Above, lightning cracks a tree branch. Sparks fly. The tree tumbles down towards Alex. A thick branch falls above him, landing on top of him. He's knocked to the ground and pinned face down in the creek. Camera moves in, his nose and mouth just below the waterline, but he can't move. His eyes flash with panic as he battles to move and avoid drowning in 2 inches of water. As he struggles in the foreground, Weine and a pair of sheriffs appear 10 yards beyond him. They pause, confused, panning their flashlights across the forest. Weine's POV, the lights actually expose the area where Alex lies. From their position, however, he's covered by the branch and out of sight. Alex struggles to raise his hand above the water, chest bursting. Weine and the sheriffs believe Alex is not in the area and move ahead into the woods. Cut to in the backyard, where Clear pulls herself up to a tree branch. Lightning and thunder continue among the arcing, crackling power lines. She searches for an escape. Clear's POV of the tree branch that extends towards the house. Clear, straining for the storm, begins to move back up to the branch. Cut to in the forest, Alex's eyes dart open. Taking a tenth of a second to gather all of his strength, all of his courage, he arcs his back, pushing with his hands anything to lift his face out of the stream. With a deep gasp, he does so. Drinking up the air, it appears to infuse him with another blast of adrenaline as he manages to push with his arms and free himself from the pinning of the tree branch. He pauses only for a couple gasps of air and is off. Cut to the window of Clear's house. Clear leaps from the edge of the branch to her window, grabbing the sill awkwardly. She dangles from the outside of the house. With a breath, she pulls herself inside just as the power line bites, arcing at her feet. Cut to the forest, where Weine runs into frame, looking around, frustrated.
I lost him.
Another part of the forest, Schreck desperately scans the area.
In the direction, there's only one place he can head.
Cut to exterior Clear's house. The power lines strike the rooftop. In Clear's house, she stands in the bedroom just as it fills with blinding blue light. Her television screen blows out. Sparks jet across the room. Blasts of flame erupt from electrical outlets. She quickly turns, racing towards the hallway. In the hallway, the camera is low, racing with her as the sparks explode from the lamps of electrical outlets. She cuts and leaps 3 steps at a time down the stairs. As we cut to the backyard, Alex tears across the fenceless backyards towards Clear's house. Blue arc light glowing from the front yard. Cut to the garage, where a mid-80s Corolla is parked amongst Clear's artwork. A door adjacent to the kitchen flies open. Clear hustles outside, running through the car and entering via the passenger door for the sake of expediency. Exterior of the garage, the power lines whack angrily against the door. In the Corolla, Clear shoots into the driver's seat. She clicks the automatic garage door opener. The garage door opener connects with a metal arm attached to the door, remains motionless. There is no power. In the Corolla, realizing the motor is dead, Clear takes a beat, starts the engine, and shifts into reverse. In the backyard, Alex reaches the backyard. The camera pushes in as he quickly tries to deduce the deadly situation. He runs out of frame. Clear guns the small car in reverse. The garage door, as the rear of the car makes the impact with the door. The garage opener trembles, the long metal arm collapsing and falls. The garage, bam! In reverse, the Corolla smashes through the garage door. The metal arm of the garage door rips through the windshield, locking upon the windshield wiper grill. The other end remains attached to the garage roof interior, essentially acting as an anchor. In the Corolla, the car shudders, wheels spinning uselessly as the arm holds onto the car. In the garage, the screws holding onto the arm of the ceiling begin to pull away as a metal can on the shelf is off screen. The car rattles in the garage, trying to break free. The can is marked turpentine, extremely flammable, and the can tumbles over the shelf. On the garage floor, the can smacks onto the floor, edgewise, revealing the can is sealed tight with a cap. On Clear's house on the power line, the thick cable arcs, snapping towards the car into frame. In the Corolla, foot to the floor, Clear screams from the car to move. In the garage, the car opener motor pulls away from the ceiling, and in the house, the Corolla lurches backwards, free from the grasp of the house. A chunk of the ceiling collapses upon Clear's artwork, indicating the canvas, including the canvas incorporating the jagged piece of debris from Flight 180. The metal slams into the floor on top of the can of turpentine, which causes the flammable liquid to stream out towards the driveway. As the Corolla lurches away from the house and down the slow driveway, the power line thuds upon Clear's car. An ear-splitting crackle around the car as sparks fly. The electrical system of the car erupts and the engine dies. The car stops. In the car from the rear of the house approaches Alex. The camera sweeps in on him as he reacts to the situation.
Don't move.
Wider, the power line sadistically rests atop the automobile. The exposed end of the cable flutters and whips like a cat's tail, sparkling, crackling as it hits the ground. Interior of the Corolla, Clear looks up desperately to Alex. Exterior of the garage, Clear's river house, Alex extends his hands off screen as the car approaches thunderously.
You're grounded in the car. Don't touch anything. Don't move.
In the street, the unmarked FBI vehicle and the 2 sheriff patrol cars pull up on the street. Schreck and Weine hustle out of the car.
Alex, get away from there.
Any part of that line touches you, you're dead.
The power line snaps in Alex's direction. Alex lurches back, and the stream of turpentine is ignited by a single spark from the power line. It flows to the car. Alex backs away, eyes locked with Clear's, assuring she's remaining in the car. Clear keeps her eyes locked on Alex, watching him. Suddenly, a burst of fire flashes from below frame. Alex reacts, shocked, and he realizes the underbelly of the Corolla has ignited from the stream of combustible fluid. Schreck and Weine step forward, and the power line atop the car whips and arcs, warning everyone to stay away. In the Corolla, Clear can see the flames. Her instinct is to go for the handle and get out, but the flames roars angrily in the foreground and the garage wall. However, the shadows don't match the flames. Rather, the approaching form of death appears. Alex, as he steps closer.
No.
The camera pushes in on Alex as he quickly considers, then moves towards the hood of the burning car. On Schreck and Weine.
Get back, you'll both die.
Alex and Clear, hearing this, Alex's mind is made up. He looks to Clear.
You know what to do.
No, don't.
When I do this, it'll have skipped you and it'll all be over.
In that moment, Clear doesn't understand. She looks to him, scared.
You know what to do. I'll always be with you.
He reaches out and grabs the power line, falling back to pull it away from the hood of the car. The cable arcs furiously. Clear pulls open the car door and runs out, knocked to her feet as behind her the car explodes. Alex is engulfed in flames. The shadows of the edge of the frame are collapsing around Alex's POV. Alex's face, gray and emotionless, appears. Yet, before it can transform into decay, Alex, through the flame, as if sensing the oncoming horror, defying the image.
No.
He looks towards Clear. She is the last sight he'll ever see. The power line erupts. Alex disappears from behind a wall of fire and sparks before falling limp in the driveway. Clear on Schreck and Weine as the paramedics rush to the girl. Schreck turns back, calling out at the paramedic, helplessly watching by the burning car.
Is he alive?
Clear's eyes flash open, horrified, answering the question. In the sky, a web of lightning cracks across the heavens as if death is making a final angry proclamation. On Schreck and Weine, the camera eases in on the agents, exchanging rattled expressions that convey their unease in the proof that Alex was right. Overhead, as the pair of paramedics work on her, a soft breeze blows across the girl, and only the girl. Camera moves down her face, her eyes open, welling with tears, seeming to sense, he's gone. Cut to interior delivery room. Screams, as if reacting to Alex's death, but in reality, it's a reaction to the pain of delivering her child. Doctors and nurses stand between Clear's legs in the stirrups.
A little more.
Clear breathes, pushing hard. Alex's parents stand on either side of her, holding her hand, wiping her forehead. The doctor cuts the umbilical cord.
He's here, a beautiful boy.
Clear, Ken, and Barbara smile and fight back tears. Clear begins to laugh euphorically through the tears.
I felt him. When the baby was born, I felt Alex pass through me. Like the night he died.
Clear lifts her head up, still battling the pain of labor. On Clear's POV, the baby, covered in goop, eyes shut, a new life arrives. The doctor looks at the clock and reports to an attending nurse. Another nurse cleans the baby, weighs him, and places him in the hospital bassinet.
13th of May, 4:25 p.m.
Clear, Ken, and Barbara. Barbara places a cool, wet cloth on Clear's forehead.
Exactly a year to the minute.
Everyone recognizes the eerie yet beautiful coincidence. Clear leans her head back, relieved and euphoric.
Beat it, Alex.
Clean, wrapped in a swaddling blanket, the baby is placed in the mother's arms. The long retrospective harmonica of Neil Young's Long May You Run reprises as Clear looks at the ID bracelet. On the wrist bracelet, Alexander Chance Browning II. The delivery room, the camera pulls back. The birthing room is quiet and the people introspective. The doctors, the family, the mother, and the child, a room of new life in which each recalls a life lost. As Long As You May Run overlaps as we dissolve to Alex's bedroom. A bright, colorful arrangement of flowers is carefully placed in a vase. A camera adjusts to reveal Alex's bedroom is now lived in by Clear and the baby. Clear makes a final adjustment to the arrangement, then checks the sleeping baby in the bassinet. Clear moves to her bed with a book. As she settles in, off-screen, a faint rustle. The camera inches in on Clear as she looks to her POV of the flowers. A soft breeze causes the petals to flutter. Clear looks towards the windows, which are closed, the fan, which is off. Clear looks across the room. The breeze moves through the flowers, billows the curtains, posters, and photos on the wall until seemingly settling over the bassinet. The lace trim and blankets rustled by the breeze. It's hovering over the child. The camera settles on Clear, but her expression does not reflect fear. She knows that Alex is here, and she smiles, tears welling in her eyes. The baby in the bassinet trim settles as if the presence is leaving. Before it fully departs, the wind softly and rapidly passes over Clear. He smiles and remains in the room before becoming still, and her eyes look across the room. At her POV on the wall, there's a pencil rubbing, like people taking away from the Vietnam Veteran Memorial the name Alex Browning. Cut to exterior Mount Abrams High School, the monument. Alex Browning is marked in the granite. Camera pulls back to reveal the name has been added to the memorial, along with that of Todd Waggner, Valerie Lewton, Terry Chaney, and William Hitchcock. A hand enters frame, a finger to hover in the space before they gently trace over Terry Chaney. Camera adjusts to reveal Carter staring at the name. Alone, he allows himself the moment to grieve. Carter glances up to find Clear approaching with the baby in the stroller. Carter straightens and nods, then begins to walk away. He hesitates, then turns back to Clear.
Alex was right.
Clear looks up.
He did skip us.
Clear smiles as she takes the baby out of the stroller.
I believe that's what Alex believed. But how do we know this wasn't the design all along?
Clear holds baby Alex up to the monument, showing her son his father's name. Carter stands, watching. The camera widens to reveal the entire monument against the deep blue sky. At the base, in readable but understandable lettering, Flight 180. Camera holds as Long May You Run continues, returning each of us to the awaiting darkness. Fade out. And that's entry 1 of a 5-movie series that, let's be real, should have like 20 entries because it's just so doable. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you the next one.